All right, before we get started, I just want to acknowledge that there is a lot going on out in the world. But with that being said, let's get this party started. For 30 years of the Gold Experience. Because yesterday was 30 years, Michael Dean.
Wow.
Yes.
30 years ago, the Gold Experience, not the other albums, but the Gold Experiences. That's crazy.
Yes, sir.
It's a lot of time, a lot of history in these records. Oh, God. We're talking about the 90s. It's so funny to me because when I think of the 90s, I don't think of it that long ago. Because I remember the 70s, I remember the 80s, the 90s. That was a long time ago. That's crazy.
Yes.
The 90s was supposed to be like the new. You just remember the vibe of the 90s. Like, okay, yeah, the styles are flipping up.
Well, the word on the street with the kids, at least the kids that I've been talking to, is that there's a 90s revival. So
really,
yeah,
I like that. That's funny.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. All right. So we got Cassandra Bradley first in the chat. I love this. Thank you so much. What a wonderful time we had at the 30th anniversary of the 30 Symposium doing self-care today. No gym. I hear you, Cassandra. Self-care is super important, especially right now. I love this quote from Prince. I have an addiction to writing, and we know that he does. And then, yes, first to get this party started, I love this. Greetings, purple pupils. That's right, Anna B. We got Lori Johnson in the house for another What Did Prince Do This Week? And thank you, Lisa. I'm so excited and happy that you got an opportunity to watch as well as Drea dances. I'm so happy that you went back and watched the recordings. So all of you who registered on Zoom webinars and events, you can actually watch everything right now until the end of the month when I'm going to shut it down. So if you missed any session and you register, you can watch it. And then eventually they will be posted on YouTube. But you know how that goes. It takes a while because I'm juggling a lot of stuff, especially at work. So if you register, you missed some things, or you didn't see it at all, you can still watch everything online. And then the two keynotes that we had with the one and only, I am so grateful to Mr. Morris Hayes, which was one of my favorite conversations I've ever had with anyone because he is just so funny. But he told so many amazing Prince stories, but he made us laugh, not once, not twice, but a lot. So if you need some humor, you need to get like some positivity in your life, make sure you watch the Morris Hayes keynote. Is available to you on this YouTube channel at Polished Solid. And then if you're a nerd like me, because supposedly nerd is a bad word. I don't know when nerd became a bad word. For me, nerd is the best word possible because I'm a nerd. So if you're a design, art, tech nerd, the conversation that we had with Michael Van Huffel is for you. It was also really incredible. He got very detailed about what it was like. He was talking about how hard drives failed, how zip drives and jazz drives failed.
Zip drives.
If you want to hear that kind of conversation, well, then that one is for you. Did you have any zip drives fail on you, Michael Dean? Do you remember?
No, I used to sell zip drives, so that's I used to sell to all the studios. I just remember though. I remember when they first came out, it was such a big deal.
Yeah, I like that they were blue. I don't even remember that. As silly as that is, just because there wasn't a lot of color back then with hardware and all that kind of stuff. So we got Christina from Minneapolis, still basking in the Gold Experience 30. We got Sonic 22. We got Ronald Dagley Jr. from Maryland. We got Melvin Rush II from Charlotte, North Carolina. I am here. Where are you? That's right. We got EA from San Francisco. We got Gabrielle from Down Under. And thank you so much for our beautiful Gold Experience. And we got Arlene from Edmonton, Canada. And we got Andre, what up though, who joined us every night in the closing sessions. Really, really love that. And we got Nick Felden from Denver. Thank you so much, Chanel. I'm so happy to hear that some of you are still riding high from last weekend's wonderful symposium, especially in a world of disposable culture. It is so important to hold on to some things. So I hope that you're holding on to the amazing community that we had over the 2 days. And we got to give a special thanks and shout out to Theo for being on the next Power Generation table, holding it down. Really, really love it. And I love this. There's so much to discuss today, but in the words of Mariah Carey, I am here for it all. And then we got Dorothy Edwards here. Thank you so much. Yes, I love this, Dorothy. Thank you for everyone for their contributions to the symposium, including Mr. Michael Dean. Thank you so much for holding down the New Power Soul Roundtable. I hope you had a blast.
Yeah, we had a ball.
That's right.
We had a crystal ball. No.
We did have a crystal ball. That's right. And we got my alliterative brother, Blade Brown, in the house. We got Sister Charles from H-Town. We got Vanessa. Vanessa also participated. So Theo and Vanessa, that was their first time participating at a symposium, and I'm so grateful. And we have RTL 49. Thank you so much, Man Ray 10. I really appreciate it. Yes, we are going to have the one and only Andrea Swensson join us later today. So stay tuned. Yes. Okay. And we're going to have another author join us next week. Somebody I'm super excited about who has never been on What Did Prince Do This Week. So you want to tune in. All right. So we got TP. We got our timekeeper, Kim. Yes, Theo. 30 years, one of my top 2 Prince albums. That is high praise. Welcome, Leah. Thank you so much for being in the chat during the symposium. We got Joy Perry. We got Chris Bournay. Another amazing presentation from Chris Bournay about the most beautiful girl in the world, as well as Marva Collins. It was so great to be together again. And then we got Love. I love Love. Hello. And yes, no worries, but we'll be reading, but you do want to get the book eventually if possible. And then we got Tanja, All Through the Night. We missed you at the symposium last weekend. I can't rhyme. So welcome, JD. Oh my God. Thank you, JD. And then let's see. Yeah, Chanel Morris. What's medicine when it's comedy? Nerds stand up. That's right. Then we got Melvin Rush II. We got Audria. We got Edgar with the most amazing presentation ever. Always bringing with the presentations. Yeah. I so appreciate you, Edgar, because Edgar had his own, his own event the next day. And for him to show up for us while he had his own event to plan was incredible. So I really appreciate you, Edgar.
Salute.
Yes, because you could have said, I ain't got time for this. I got other stuff I need to be doing, but no, you showed up for us, and I'm so grateful. Yes, and we got Karan. Happiest Saturday, y'all. I love that you love both conversations. Thank you so much. I'm representing 90s Prince. Got this from the Prince Immersive Experience that was in Chi-Town, Chicago. One of the best things I've ever been to. And we got Alabama checking in. Insatiable is my name. That's right. Yes, Tanja, mine too. Yes. Theo says, I have yet to watch back the next Power Generation Roundtable, but I think I'd rather remember it from my experience instead of watching myself back. Maybe I'll change my mind. We shall see. I hear you on that. Sometimes you need to just have a memory be a memory. And we got Duke Swan in the house. We got 71, and we got Holding On Like LTD. Let's see what Nick Feldon is saying. I really enjoyed the Morris Hayes interview. I'm glad Morris talked about Prince pushing the recording technology that was available in the 90s. That's right. And thank you so much, Karan. We try. And yes, of course, Theo, it is never going to be your last. We got El Michelle. Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. So you have a few on replay. I would love to know which ones you have on replay, just to get us a sense of what you appreciate. And let's see.
For a minute.
Let's see.
I want to know your name, baby. Yeah, come on now.
Oh my God. We got Purple Cat Confetti in the house. And thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Chris Bournay. And let's see. Yeah, thank you. I try. All right. Oh, okay. There you go. This is very important. Thank you for letting me know you're working on the March on Film Festival in DC.
Oh, okay.
And thank you, Edgar. I really appreciate it. Yes, Leah, thank you so much. Greetings and gratitude to everyone, especially the people in the chat. The chat was hopping as always. And yes, Theo, please tell Sydney C that I so enjoyed. Sydney was checking people, Michael Dean. I don't know if you got an opportunity.
No, I didn't see that.
Was checking people in the chat. That's what I'm talking about. Yes.
That's that Northwest.
Yes.
Get right. Yes. It's all right.
For sure. All right. And always D68A. Yes. I don't know. I got that from somebody. I don't know who I got that from, but I remember someone said that and it stuck. Okay. So we've been talking about last weekend, which was our tribute to the Gold Experience as well as Exodus over 2 days. Many thanks to our NYU promotional sponsors, but I got to give mad thanks to Reverend for some of the best graphics I have ever seen. Like the way he wrapped that S around that guitar when I saw that, I was like, man, I've always had a lot of respect for Reverend. I know he is really good, but he leveled up this time. It was like such amazing graphics, like with the gold glittery and all that. So amazing. I can't thank him enough. And then we also have to give very special thanks to our amazing keynote speakers, Mr. Morris Hayes and Mr. Michael Van Huffel. They were both incredible. They really, really, really were. Yes, Drea Dances. I got to make sure I put this on the screen with that. Yes, those graphics are fire. And then I love.
That was Morris for a second. I missed the Morris Day interview. Yeah, okay.
I got to thank Kim for catching this because I didn't see this in the chat because the chat was flying. It was like flying by. I couldn't see nothing. So I just stopped kind of paying attention to the chat sometimes. And Audra, who's also, I love this is both of our WDP DTW community right here. Kim captured this and Audra typed in the chat, ushers hold the doors. Love. And Seeley was clean as always. Got his gold on.
It looked like the pictures are okay, but we could be doing much better. Got the Birdman hands.
Yeah.
Got the Morris swag. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes. I really, really love that you captured this, Kim. This was so incredible. And thank you so much, Audra, for that quote. That was like really, really crazy. And then I'm so happy, Leah, that you're with us because if you don't know, the hashtag this time around it's tingly. And you only know that if you were in a particular session. And if not, you got some catching up to do. So as you know, as we do these symposia, sometimes there's a phrase or a word. The one that started it, and I don't know if you remember Michael Dean from the DM40GB30 symposium, the hashtag was panties are pivotal. The panties are pivotal. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yes.
What was the topic?
Yeah, that was from Stephen G. Fullwood's talk. He said that and everybody started hashtagging the panties are pivotal. And then another one from that one was when Jill Jones said Judgy Angel. That sort of made the rounds. And then for 1+1+1.
I had to give a shake for the panties one. Go ahead.
Yes, and for 1+1+1 is 3. It was a vulgar stream of water. That was the hashtag, vulgar stream of water. So now this time around, it's short and sweet, tingly, but hilarious if you understand the context, which we won't share because you need to actually watch it. So yes, I love this, Joy. Yes, fun, thoughtful, and provocative. That's right.
That's all you need right there.
Kim remembers. I think Kim remembers. And then let's see.
All right, Kim.
Yes. No. So it was a thing, Michael Dean. You just weren't.
You gotta explain it. That's okay.
You weren't in the chat streets. You weren't in the chat streets.
I know. I know.
Oh my God. And Queen Sydney is here. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Sydney C. You were incredible on that next Power Generation roundtable. That's right. Okay. Revolution 86. I think this is, yes. All right. Here we go. Let me make sure I'm doing the right thing. Here we go.
Here we go.
86. Okay. Say the dates. April 17th through 19th.
Interesting.
Next year, it's going to be here any moment because this year is flying by. Yeah. The name of the symposium is I Wonder You 40. I Wonder You is one of my favorite songs off of the album. And this time around, this is my first hybrid symposium. And what does that mean, you may ask? That means that Friday is going to be virtual for all the international lovers and everybody else who can't make it to Brooklyn. And it will be in person in Brooklyn on Saturday and Sunday at our normal destination, which is 370 J Street. And this time around, it will not be live streamed, just so you know. So welcome. Wait, see, I got to show you something. We got this captured. We just love your amazing presentation, and we were talking about how Audra had wrote in the chat, "Ushers hold the doors." I don't know if you saw that. I didn't see that in real time, and Kim captured this, so it was so great to have you present again.
Look, wait, hold on. Can y'all hear me? Wait.
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank y'all for that. That means the world to me. Anytime I can be, particularly in the company with you two, I just love the work that both you guys are doing. I love the fact that so many of our regular What Did Prince Do This Week folks showed up for the chat. And so for me, I just want to say thank you. And I thank our timekeeper. Look here, send that to me. That's going to be my new promo because, look here, I ain't had a new promo since my hair started falling out. So I don't want to be that act where when people come to your show and your promo picture is what you was 20 years ago, then you hit the stage, you looking like Fred Sanford. So I'm going to need somebody to send that to me. So, the promo, I ain't sending out false anything. But I look at, thank y'all, man. And look, Monica she's still in DC, and she's in DC doing some, important work that she does, but she was sneaking in between conference panels, and she said that this may have been her favorite one. And that's, that's saying a lot. She was like, this may be one of her, and she said that what made it her favorite one was because, and these are her words, the joy and the love was just popping off the screen. So I want to give kudos to the people in the chat, but especially to you two, because you guys not only do a lot of great work, you guys set the tone. So that's it. I'll shut up.
All right. So Democracy.fun is asking, will Celie be at the Wonder You 40 Symposium? If I have anything to do with it, yes.
That's Brother Brian. Brother Brian, yes. I look here. If I ain't nowhere but in the chat talking noise, I would be like at the end of Purple Rain when Morris and Jerome was in the crowd like that. And one quick thing. Am I the only person? Because I'm hurt. I'm hurt about what I'm about to tell y'all that I didn't know this. Because I'm all things Clarksdale, Mississippi. And I'm hurt I did not know that Morris and Jerome was in a movie with my Clarksdale, Mississippi homeboy Ike Turner. Am I the only somebody that didn't know that?
Yeah.
We all learned that this weekend, I think.
Yeah, we all did, I think.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I went on somebody knew that. All right, I set up.
Yes, and welcome, Ricky. I'm so sorry. I unmuted you because you got it.
Hey, what's happening?
What's up, Brother Rick?
Hey, man, I can't call it. Living the dream.
I'm giving you my brown mark. You're late. They left. Hey, where's Ricky at? All right, that's good.
Rick said, I'm on that. Look, Rick said, I'm on that Slat Stone time. I'm on that Slat Stone. I'm on that, you know.
That's a good one.
You know.
Yes. So
That's a good one.
yeah, how was your symposium experience?
Oh, it was great. You know what I'm saying, man? It's always good to cut up with the fellas and you know, go back down memory lane and, you know, talk about Magic Shave and Exodus.
And don't forget the Magic Shade comment that was in the chat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The comment that the chat is always where it's at.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, so the chat is always where it's at. You know, I mean, man, it's always good to kind of look back, you know, to be like in a community and then look back at something and you get all these different viewpoints of these things that you didn't consider at first, you know, and so it's good to kind of, you know, hear that. Plus, you know, I always say, you know, I think every Prince album means something different to somebody else.
Right.
You know, and so like you never know what the entry point was, you never know what the outro point is or was or whatever. So, but it's always good to hear different perspectives on different albums and things like that. So
Sorry.
That's right, Sydney.
Oh my God.
Lord.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, Ricky. It's just
it's all good.
The chat is hopping and we gotta say hello to Mooches. I always have to say hello to Mooches 26 because Mooches always brings vanity, which I absolutely love. So again, I just remind everyone that again, this year is going to be hybrid. So Friday virtual, Saturday and Sunday in person in Brooklyn. We will be celebrating obviously Parade and the Parade tour, but we will also be celebrating my favorite Prince film of all time since I was a teen. It's not something that I recently came up because that was a question the other time. All my life, like all my life, I've had to fight. All my life under the chair has been my favorite Prince film from day one. So there you go. Oh, look, we got Anil in the house. Welcome. Thank you so much, Anil, for always participating. You always bring so much knowledge. You are like a data bank. You have so much information, and it wouldn't be the same without you. So thank you so much. I can't wait to see the graphics for I Want to Do 42. I know that they will be great. So I hope that, yes, that's right, Kim. Under Chair Moon, ride or die. That's right. All right. So, one thing I want to say, because we really let me see, Ricky, you got something on, so I'm going to turn you off because I can hear a double thing. Okay, let's see what Edgar is saying. Within the fictional Under the Cherry Moon universe, Isaac Sharon signed that check to get rid of Christopher exactly 40 years ago today.
Wow, Edgar! Wow, that's quite it.
You.
Miss Chinese.
That's the coldest moment in oh my God. And they kicked in another level, a hole in your head.
That was dope. Well, how much was that check for again?
Was it 100,000?
How much was the check? Edgar would know. Yeah. How much was the check?
Yeah. I thought it was 100,000, but I'm not sure.
Listen, if I would have wrote that movie, we cashed the check, and then I would have hollered at her after.
Hey, Brother Dean, you sound. See, I thought 100,000, Brother Dean, you sound like my old Irking jerk, Easy Jesus, Easy J drinking uncle. When my uncle saw that movie on HBO, he came to me and said, "Look here, nephew. I look here. I'd have told that girl once I got that check. Look here, baby, it ain't gonna work."
This is so funny.
Money matters tonight. Show gonna matter.
Look, Kim is checking us Franks though. It's $100,000. Now, let's just take a moment right now. This is the kind of community we have. People who know what day it is when things happen in Under the Cherry Moon. People who know like the exchange rates.
I respect it.
All I got to say is I personally think that I Wonder You 40 is going to be off the chain because there's so much love for Under the Cherry Moon, at least within my sphere. So, yes, that's right.
So I need somebody in the chat to do two things. I need somebody in the chat to tell us in 1986, what was the markup rate or switch between francs and dollars, and what did that represent in dollars today? So I need y'all, that's the homework for the chat. What's the markup rate between francs and dollars, and what is that equal to today? Because I want to see if Alex Sharon was writing that check today, how much would that check be for?
Man, that's super Prince Elite. Like, that's top tier challenge.
And I love this dedication. Audra is already making their plans already. And we just announced it. That's what I'm talking about. And Stone Freak says Parade is my second favorite of Prince today. I love that.
There you go. Today. Don't ask me tomorrow, but today.
Yes. So Stone Freak, I want to know, you know me. I want to know your number one today. Let us know. All right. So I'm very excited. It's like one of these symposium I have been waiting for since I've been doing these. And I love Parade. Love Parade. But Under the Cherry Moon, oh my God. I cannot wait. All right. So I hope that you will be joining us one way or another. All right. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. 1999, Stone Freak. It was, I got it. It was your introduction. Yes, I would too. And Edgar says the movie lasts exactly 17 days. What?
Wow.
Damn, Edgar.
No, okay.
What? I did not know that, Edgar. September 12th to the early hours of September 28th, 1985.
All right.
Wow.
All right.
Well, that's some trivia for you right there.
I wonder if Prince did that intentionally, or is that
right? Oh, I see you, Leah. There we go.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, shoot. You have to cash me out.
Oh man,
that relationship would have been in trouble back then.
What?
Yeah, I mean, we would have just said, "Listen, this is your dad. He want to act funny. Let's take his little money. We can go off and do our things."
Yes. Thank you so much, democracy.fun. But yes, if you don't mind, as Ricky would say, as you come on in, just hit that like button. We really appreciate it. It's for Prince, and it's just to let everybody know how hard Prince worked, and also to spread the word about Duane's amazing books so that he can continue to write them. Yes, that's right. We haven't gotten through our housekeeping yet. So Mike is... You got a lot of Mike from Mike, Mr. Dean, number one fan here. Listen to the originals review last night. Is that something recent, or is it something you did with?
No, that's an old one. Man, salute to you, Mike. Man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
And the archives.
I was gonna say that's the cool thing about this show and about podcast use. Y'all got a catalog now. Like people can go through the catalog, and I recommend people go through the catalog, because trust me, there on both of these, on What Did Prince Do This Week and on Podcast Juice, there's some stuff. They're like diamonds on diamonds. What my boys, I got grooves and grooves up on the shelf. Right? These Purple Concord jams. That's what you get when you go through What Did Prince Do This Week, and when you go through Podcast Juice, you get them deep Purple Concord jams. That's it.
Like that, man. Remember when he said that in the record? I just thought in my mind, like, "Ooh, I know he's sitting on some. Like he's telling us already. He's sitting on.
He's sitting on some stuff. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, good to hear him say it.
Yeah.
And the way he described it.
I got grooves and grooves up on the shelf. Yeah, that was that
Concord. I was like, what does a deep Purple Concord jam sound like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
That's right. Okay, so let's get this housekeeping started, because our guest is going to arrive in about 30 minutes, and so we're going to try to get started. So this is week 39 of What Did Prince Do This Week, and it is a very slow read of Duane Tudahl's Prince Studio Sessions Book Club series, and it is also about having a Saturday salon where like-minded folks and get together and talk about stuff and have fun, echoing the spirit of the Harlem Renaissance We're going week to week, not date to date. You can follow a detailed schedule at this bit.ly link or QR code. You do not need, we already did this, but it doesn't hurt to do it again. The paperback version, but it's the one that has the most up-to-date, 50 more pages, but you can be like Michael Dean and Ricky and have the Old Testament. It's okay. Yes, that's
the
right.
gunshot one.
Yes, I love this. Kim says 12:30 p.m. check cash and time. And then we got a nil dash. That's just a straight inflation to about $300,000 today.
When I read Kim's comment, I thought about, remember the check cashing places, you know, for people you ain't have no bank account, you go to check cashing and the title loan places. Some of y'all ain't never been on hard times like this. You had to go to the check cashing place. So
what time they close today?
You ain't never been to the check cashing place and the title loan.
Oh man. You gotta get a couple bucks to float me the next week.
Look, I ain't gonna lie. I have had a couple of them title loans where you sign your title over and hope like hell you don't miss no payment. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had a couple of them loans, and so look here, the ends wasn't meeting, so I had to do what I had to do. So that's it.
Oh man,
hilarious.
I understand. All right, these will be archived at Polysolid as well as at MDean. Like I said before, please subscribe, like, and help spread the word for all the reasons I said before. And this is our hashtag. And if you want to send us anything, this is our email. And the estate of Prince Rogers Nelson is not affiliated, associated, or connected with the What Did Prince Do This Week book club series, nor did it sponsor the 30 Virtual Symposium, nor will it sponsor the I Wonder You 40 Hybrid Symposium. These are all independent endeavors. I just want to be clear about that. And then when it comes to our community guidelines, we want to choose to be a community even when we disagree. All right, we started off this morning, or afternoon rather, Burning Steel from No Words 2017, composed by Paul Peterson. We got Eric Leeds and Paul Peterson and all the other musicians from this stellar album. I hope after hearing these songs over the course of 3 years that you will really get into this album because it's pretty incredible. All right, this is our 142nd episode, and it is week 39 of 1985. And since Anil is in the chat, I gotta say this: what did Prince do this week? What we know, because we find out new information all the time. So it's really important that, you know, we are constantly updating information. So this has been looking like this for a while recently, but we should know why. I should do a quiz in the chat really quickly. Why does this week look like this? 0 songs and 0 studio sessions. Who's going to be fast in the chat? Who's fast in the chat?
Prince was having a meeting with his women.
Okay, there we go. We got Joy. You got Joy Perry, who knows what's going on. He is in France, about to start filming, or is filming Under the Cherry Moon. So yes, we got people.
See, having the meeting. Having the meeting with his women. Hey, babe, look, I know I said you could be. Hey, look, I know I said that you could be the lead, but I changed my mind. I'm just gonna fly you back. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no big thing. Why don't you just go decorate the house?
Oh my God!
You get in the car. You must be on the wrong side of town, mother. Oh, ain't that okay, never mind. My wrong era. Okay, we get you. Brother, like he's from another country.
Oh man!
Somebody should just do a collection of all the sort of pimpery type of stuff. I mean, it's just littered all throughout.
Oh my God! Somebody should do a Pimp Prince compilation, audio compilation. That would be hilarious. Okay, well, before we get into this, I'm so sorry. I just got to say this because I didn't have an opportunity to say this during the symposium, even though I kind of hinted at it. But I was really surprised at how no one really talked about the big city remix of The Good Life. It is like one of my favorite things that Prince has ever done. Because one, I don't know about you, but it sounds like he's trying to give his best impression of Shock G from the Digital Underground, like the way that he delivers those lines. And like the bass is funky, how the lyrics are different from The Good Life. Like there's so many amazing things about that particular mix, and no one really touched on it. So yes, I love this, Kim. Purple Pimpery Project Activate. That's oh, I love this one from Chanel. He was busy firing the director, which might be true. That is very true indeed. And I gotta give a shout out to Jesse, who was also on the Next Power Generation Roundtable. You were incredible. I hope you're feeling better.
They were excellent.
Yes, yes, for sure. All right. Okay. Yes, that's right, Sydney. It is a real remix because we don't want to talk about some of those other mixes. Look, and did you get your Good Life CD maxi single, Theo? When you get it, the first thing you need to listen to is a Big City remix so that we can actually have a conversation about it because nobody seems to want to talk about it with me. And we got Anil. Yes.
Okay, we can talk about it. God.
But no one thinks that's amazing. It's like
it is dope. It's dope. I think the comes to mind is him using Ice Cube's voice in that. I thought that was dope.
Yes, yeah, I love that sample.
It's been so long since I've heard it. I gotta hear it again. I'll be honest with you.
You gotta listen to it today, Ricky.
All
today.
Right. Homework assignment noted.
Yes.
It was one of Prince's. To me, that's rapping Prince. Like that's one of his better, sort of rap songs.
Yes. But the one thing that I love about it, though, is that you could tell he was like smiling or something the whole time he was doing it because it is just so funny to me. Like he really got into it. But also just the production on that I felt was incredible. I love the keyboards that starts off incredible. That little mini bass solo, incredible. It's just, and then some of the lyrics. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Is this like a Kirky J thing too? Is he on that? Production on that?
I think so, but I don't know. That somebody needs to consult Prince Vault with the quickness.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, Edgar coming with more Under Cherry Moon because we're supposed to be talking about 1985, not 1995.
We're talking about Prince.
Yeah, we're talking about Prince. So this week in 1995, the scenes on the flower market were filmed. I love that. That's one of my favorite. Well, all scenes in Under the Cherry Moon are my favorite scene, but I really do love that scene.
I mean, that's the Christopher, give us some money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why don't y'all get a job? I got a job.
Yeah.
It's an honest one, but it's a
job.
job.
Walking down, we take the lady's apple.
Yep.
He says like, Pat, and then see the sister. He's like, I got this. Don't even worry about what you want. And get a all of it.
Yes.
That's what I like. And letting you know the rest of the foolery you see in this movie, I'm giving the sisters one. Off the job, right at the top.
Hey, Mike, that's a good point, man. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a very good point, Mike. Off top, you gave your sister the prop. Like, hold up, let me take care of it.
and for me, I was like, only Prince would be bouncing a soccer ball like a basketball. Like literally playing with a soccer ball like it's a basketball.
Man, there's brothers everywhere.
Right.
It's like
getting out the cat
everywhere I go.
I mean, that was really like just to establish that Christopher Tracy was from America. Like he was from the streets. He came overseas, swagged out. He thought he was balling and getting kids and salute the sisters.
Now that scene would have come from the scene C. Lee brought up last week, which was an alternate opening where he's talking to the statue with no arms, right?
Right.
Okay, so that would have played into that scene would have played into the flower market scene.
Yep.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
So this is actually a good question from Chanel. Chanel is asking, did anyone other than Susanna say she was penciled in to be in the movie Under the Cherry Moon? Was it in some of like Black Beat or some of the magazines?
I thought they said St. Paul was supposed to be in it at one point.
Madonna.
Yeah, I heard that because her director was directing. Her previous video director was scheduled to say direct. Other than that, I don't recall them. I don't recall ever reading anything where like the Revolution was gonna be in Under the Cherry Moon. I think people might have assumed it because it was a Prince movie,
right?
And they just figured, I think all of us figure, well, it's a Prince movie, so like the Prince camp will be in it, and I guess whoever's in the camp at the time would have shown up in the movie, which would have been kind of cool. Like that would have been kind of cool to see the family and Sheila, and you know, like
it would have been cool to see Sheila in there somehow. That would have been dope. Well, you know, Jerome, he got the placement.
Yeah, which is great.
He went from being the valet
right.
to movie star. That's like, that's an upgrade mug.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stop, but I gotta go to this from Anil Dash because this is from the Good Life Big City remix. I've never understood this, so can someone help me unpack this further? Because
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. So I know Tito is like Michael Jackson's brother.
Yeah.
So you didn't watch Raw?
No.
Okay. So yeah, that's
the Delirious.
No.
Delirious. I mean,
okay.
That's a line from Eddie Murphy's Delirious where he was he's singing a Michael Jackson song.
Okay.
And Michael, and in the impression, he starts crying, and then he goes, "Tito, give me some tissue." And it's a really hilarious line. It's like a really hilarious line. Like, Tito, give me some tissue.
It really a shot at Michael in a sense.
Yeah.
And I would say that I'm glad that everybody, a lot of people don't know that Tito later in life was a Grammy Award-winning blues artist. And he spent a lot of time in Mississippi and through those blues circuits. Actually, like he wasn't like I'm Tito Jackson. Like he was a real blues man playing at clubs where I knew like real blues people hung out. And he was in there playing. He wasn't hey, this, that, and the other. Like he was in there with a real traveling blues band. I was really happy to see that Tito get back to those kind of Gary, Indiana, up south, we call up south blues roots. So yeah, I always like to point that out when we talk about Tito Jackson. I was trying to think about the last song. I'll set up. I wanted to shout out the last song he had, which was a kind of, believe it or not, it was kind of a blues Jamaican kind of mashup kind of song. Yeah, if I can think of the name of it, I'll put it in the chat. I'll shut up.
Real quick, there's a new interview, Big Daddy Kane on Shannon Sharp, but he talks about doing a song with Tito. I thought that was interesting. I believe he also talks about working with Prince. So definitely check that out. Yeah,
because he did the Bad Dance?
Bad Dance.
Yeah, Bad Dance remix.
Mm-hmm.
So in full disclosure, the reason why I didn't see neither is because I was forbidden to see them in real time, and I never went
back.
Your parents had good sense.
Yeah.
So
see Raw and with Delirious.
Yeah. I never saw those. I still haven't. I guess I need to, and I haven't seen a lot of. Well, actually, I haven't seen any of Richard Pryor's stuff. Films, yes, his films, but I've never seen like any of his
stand up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the reason why I'm like, I was like, I know there's got to be something about that line. So thank you, Anil. I really appreciate it.
Just to add, it's interesting how much stand up means to Prince.
Right.
You can hear it throughout his music, man.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
And isn't it the story that not only did he, of course, sample Bernie Mac, but didn't he go to see Bernie Mac on the set of House Party? Because I remember, if I remember right, Kid and Play was telling the story that Prince just showed up at the set of House Party, and like everybody was flipping out, and like Bernie Mac was like, "Yeah, Prince loved me." Like so, so it's, like you said, to make that connection about. I like to say that. I'm trying to check the ages because I saw Raw. I actually took a girl to the movies to see Raw. Now, Delirious, I was a little younger. But I actually took a girl I was trying to holler at hard, took her to see Raw. And we got some laughs and some jokes, but them jokes didn't seal the deal. But it was a great show.
Interesting.
Oh my God.
Hey, that's how you had to do it back in the day. Hottest movie out at the time.
There you go.
Because that joint was a hot ticket. I do remember that. I remember like Raw was a hot ticket, and Delirious was one of those ones where like you get to school, say the next day, you be like, man, I saw Eddie Murphy last night, and a whole bunch of people be like, look, I saw it too. No, they didn't see it, but they want you to tell all the jokes about what you saw.
Hilarious.
You remember this? But it was one of those ones that everybody at school saw too. Just
that was a moment. That was it. Delirious was the first one.
Yeah,
that was. I remember my dad was like, "No, we about to watch." I'm like, "What is this?" And boy, I was like, "I'm supposed to be laughing." It was so funny. Like, is it okay for me to laugh? Like, go on, just don't tell your mama. I'll let you watch.
Pretty much. I mean, plus, Prince came up in an era where comedy albums were big.
Yeah.
And so I'm not surprised that he was into the go-to comedians during his youth, which is Richard Pryor.
That's right. We used to listen to comedy like it was albums, like it was albums. Like we would listen to it like it was a record.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, and
Robin Harris album.
Yeah,
the piccolo player.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like bring down the sadness, but I like my parents had all of the Richard Pryor albums. They had all of the Red Fox albums. And they had all of the Bill Cosby albums. And like Bill Cosby had like a supper show album, right? Mm-hmm. And I wore that Bill Cosby supper show album. I don't know why, because it was the Richard Pryor albums were funny and the Red Fox shows, but those Bill Cosby supper shows, because Bill Cosby would interact with the crowd, so you could hear the crowd talking back and forth. But yeah, so yeah, I probably 10 that all told they had like 10 concert albums that I would listen to religiously between all the blues and funk and rock stuff they had.
Yeah, man. Anybody remember? I used to have this, and I recently found it it's on Apple Music now, but there was a Michael Jackson, or it was the Jacksons and Bill Cosby. It was a TV special, but it turned it into an album, and I had the album. I used to listen to. I mean, I knew it word for word because I had all the skits and shit. What is it? You would never what I got. Somebody will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, we would listen to shit like that. I remember the Bill Cosby Jackson 5 that record. That was everything to me.
Quick question: how many people know that in Delirious, Eddie Murphy's suit is mismatched?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the suit is what happened was that the suit he was originally going to wear got messed up.
Man, y'all gonna make me watch that.
And they literally had to run to the mall and buy that outfit. And the jacket and the pants are a different color red.
Couldn't tell back then.
Yeah. And does anybody know what happened to that outfit?
Keenan Ivory Wayans wore somewhere, didn't he?
Yep, Keenan Ivory Wayans tore it up. Keenan Ivory Wayans had a character on Living Color called Frenchie. That character on Living Color, Frenchie, was invented years before when Keenan Ivory Wayans used to hang out with Eddie Murphy, and it was a dare because Keenan put on the outfit and had a wig and was doing it around the house, and they dared him. They said, "We dare you to go out to the club," and Eddie Murphy and Robert Townsend and Arsenio Hall and Keenan went out in that. He went out in that, and Keenan actually was pulling women as a Frenchie character with that Jerry Curl wig and that red outfit. But Keenan was too big for the outfit, so he tore up the outfit.
Oh man!
Yeah. All right, so this is what happened in 1995. And on Wednesday, there are mixes of 9 songs. We're gonna read about them because 9 songs is a lot. And then on Thursday, there are rough mixes of Sexual Suicide and God Is Everywhere. And then on Friday, there are all titles for Paisley Park album, which I think would evolve into Parade. And I don't even know, according to Duane, if Paisley Park was really slated for an album or if that was just like a holding name, because you'll understand that if you look at the work orders, which we do have. So let's see. Neil says 100% nobody would have been pulling off that look if Prince hadn't made it hot. All right, let's see. I thought the purple black paisley leather suit was a nod to Prince.
That was in Raw.
Yeah, that's in Raw.
Okay. And let's see. Prince denim jacket from Sound of Time. I never understood how she got that. So did Prince give it to her?
Bill Cosby made a phone call.
There you go.
Bill Cosby made a phone call.
That's pretty cool. Let's see.
Hey, and now Prince.
But they actually, I knew somebody who actually had that jacket. I always wondered if you could buy it because I remember I knew a sister in Jackson that actually had that jacket, and I don't know if she made it or.
Well, see, it's two different jackets. She has the jacket. She being Vanessa from the Cosby Show, Tempest Bledsoe,
right?
She got the MTV Performance jacket.
Okay.
With the peace sign over it.
Okay.
The movie jacket is different.
Okay.
Is it different or is it just? I was wondering if like the peace sign was added later.
Now, well, yeah, that's what's missing from say the movie jacket to say the peace sign. That's why I say it's different. It could very well be the same jacket and they just added the peace sign. But I noticed hers when she had it on, she had the peace sign.
and you know what, Kim, I'm glad you said that.
Kim, I want to see Kim's face when she said,
yeah, she made that jacket. She made that jacket. You know, hey Kim, and you know what? When I saw at the movies and I saw in that Prince jacket, I was gonna holler at her, but damn, I had another honey here, and I ain't understand. How can I go holler at the sister with the Prince jacket? I got this sister here. All right, that's it.
Okay, player.
That was before my wife.
He said that was before my wife.
I think this is a good point. The Sign Time jacket seems more Denise than Vanessa. But that, and then also Dre Dancer says, and this makes a lot of sense, that they were trying to get Prince to guest star.
Now that would have been, man, if he had been on the Cosby Show, that would have been.
You should have had Lisa call.
Hey, that's wild.
Oh my God,
that would have been wild.
Okay.
In the quantum realm, I already see Lisa Bonet album didn't come out. The whole thing. And Lenny came in and snatched it up.
Oh my God.
Okay, Denise needed a job. Bill Cosby, Dr. Huxtable is, come on, Prince. I mean, Denise needed a job.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, Lisa Bonet did direct one of Prince's videos. I can't remember which one.
She did?
Didn't she?
Okay, stump to me with that one.
Kind of sounds.
Can someone do Googles or consult Prince Vault? I think this is right.
Kind of
in the 90s. So you talking about Symbol album or Diamonds and Pearls?
I think it was the Symbol album, but I can't remember which one.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yes.
I know she did some of the Tony stuff.
Yeah, she did.
Okay.
She did It Never Rains.
Yes. Can somebody do some Googling?
She did Lay Your Head on My Pillow video, which is hardly ever seen too.
Yeah. Oh,
she did Love to the What?
Love to the Nines.
I need some confirmation.
And shout out, if y'all haven't seen it, go watch Brother Dean's podcast where he's reviewing Raphael Sadiq's one-man show. If you don't get to see the Raphael Sadiq, my wife is mad because she's in DC and Raphael Sadiq is in New Orleans. He's close to us now. It's gonna be the only time that Raphael is gonna be close to Mississippi, but Monica's in New Orleans. I mean, Monica's in DC, so she's missing the Raphael Sadiq coming close to Mississippi.
Hey, man,
great show.
Brother Dean, check it out.
Ricky, you've seen it, right?
I'm going tomorrow.
Oh, man, get ready.
Going tomorrow.
Enjoy.
Hey, Steve Lee, I was gonna tell you, man. Like, if your wife is still gonna be in DC the next few days, he's gonna be in that area Tuesday.
Oh, she come home Sunday.
Oh, she come on Sunday.
Sunday.
Okay.
Plane gets in Sunday at 1. She done told me that 3 times.
Not 101, not 12:59.
There you go.
1 o'clock. I got you.
So they're saying walk, don't walk.
yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at Prince Vault, and Prince Vault says Love to the Nines is Paris Patton. And then I'm trying to find Walk Don't Walk, but I can't seem to find it. I guess
we haven't seen this, have we? It hasn't come out.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know if that one came
That's
out.
on that Walk Don't Walk. That would be on Diamonds and Pearls, wouldn't it?
No, it wasn't on there.
Where was that with the box?
Right. Yeah, I don't think that one came out.
Okay. Yeah. Not the video compilation thing.
Right.
Because they did have a videotape, right? I mean, Diamonds and Pearls era.
Yeah, the Diamonds and Pearls. Yeah, I love the Diamonds and Pearls video compilation. And what I hated about the Diamonds and Pearls video compilation, I'm trying to see. No, I was going to stop because I was going to say that we got the video, we got a VHS that had the full Sexy MF, And then I think the Diamonds and Pearls compilation, I can't remember. Because we got to remember that those the VHS for Sexy MF, and there was a VHS for Get Off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to remember on the Diamonds and Pearls compilation, did it also have the full Sexy MF video on the Diamonds and Pearls compilation? Since we also had the VH for the
No, I don't think
Sexy
it did.
MF. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so her video should have been included on that Diamonds and Pearls video compilation, which we never got with the deluxe release.
Yeah, it didn't make it. It didn't make it.
Interesting.
I had the videotape somewhere upstairs.
And the Diamonds and Pearls video VHS made me mad because seeing Live for Love made me really pissed off. The Diamonds and Pearls didn't come to America. Like when I saw that, and we got and I remember what was the BET show? It wasn't Video Vibrations. They showed which one was it?
Video Soul?
No, one Video Soul. It was one Video Soul. They showed the Daddy Pop live video. It was the one with which one did wasn't Angela Striblin. What did Angela Striblin host? Anybody in the chat? Who remembers?
Oh, she did
Video LP.
singing.
That's it. Video LP played the Daddy Pop video. I love that video.
Man, what a time. Remember, that's when BET was like, oh.
Yeah.
For the culture.
Watch everything.
Yes. So I just want to do a public service announcement. I guess I should correct myself. Whenever we're doing Prince searches, we should definitely use princevault.com. That's the place to go instead of Google's, because sometimes Google's are wrong when it comes to Prince. All right, so Andrea should be joining us any second, but until she does, Celie, do you mind reading about Wednesday, September 25th?
Yes, I will read it. Wednesday, September 25th, 1985. You're My Love. Shout out to Kenny Rogers. Rough mix. Call of the Wild. Rough mix. Sexual Suicide mix. Alexis de Paris mix. Love or Money mix. Moonbeam Levels mix. Empty Room mix. Splash mix. Hello extended mix. Sunset Sound Studio 3. 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Book 10 p.m. open. Producer Prince, artist Prince, engineer Susan Rogers, assistant engineer Coke Johnson. Susan Rogers quote: he would ask for the staff to be stuff. I'm sorry. He would ask for the stuff to be mixed and sent to him. Over her 5 years employed by Prince, Susan Rogers traveled around the world recording his music. Recently, she's been in France working on Under the Cherry Moon. And she also apparently spent a brief period back at Sunset Sound, providing him with the tracks he would potentially need for the upcoming projects. The session began surprisingly late. So from 10 in the evening to 7 the following morning, Rogers worked on mixes for the movie. Alexa de Paris, Love or Money, Sexual Suicide, and Moonbeam Levels for upcoming releases. Hello, extended mix. And probably others, Splash, Empty Room, Call of the Wild, and You're My Love, just to hear them assigned to the project. 2 C60 cassettes were created for Prince. Status of the 9 songs, 6 were not released on any Prince's current projects. Okay, more status. Note, this is the first work order that was filed under Paisley Park Records. Cherry Moon Productions was crossed out, and Warner Brothers was no longer listed as the client. Cavello, Raffio, and Fargnoli were representing this specific session. It would shift back to Warner Brothers after this session, and I'd like to say that all through my teenage years, I used to mess up Cavello, Raffio, and Fagnoli, and I'm not going to tell you what I used to call them, but I was glad somebody finally corrected me and said, stop butchering those people's names. That's it.
All right, so this is the actual work order, and I think it's really interesting to actually see the work order in this particular case, because you can see clearly that Cherry Moon Productions is struck through, and then you can also see Cavallo, Ruffalo, and Fagnoli, and then you can see like all of the breakdowns. So one of the things is, yes, Kim. Let's say this. So Google returns the AI generated mix of facts now as a top result. And if you understand how AI works, you'll know that it makes things up. So you never want to trust whatever is generated by AI. Just FYI, that's another public service announcement. And one of the reasons why I'm doubling down on using princevault.com for information literacy purposes. All right. And yes, Pheromone was the song used by Video Soul for the intro music, which I always thought was so cool. And LTK says Moonbeam Levels is such a cool title. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, in terms of what we just read about, can you imagine sexual suicide or Moonbeam Levels in the film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. And especially sexual suicide, the horn parts of sexual. I think that for me, sexual suicide goes more with it than on Parade than Moonbeam Levels. I could see Moonbeam Levels, but definitely sexual suicide, because I get the whole notion of like some kind of montage in the film or Prince walking through the city or something. Sexual suicide really for me has that kind of Under the Cherry Moon kind of feel to it.
I would agree. I think I can certainly hear the music being used in the background, like some of the other songs. Like it just sounds like it is from that era. And I would just add, I mean, just looking at all of these songs, just right here, just where this speaks to where Prince is at musically, it is wild to me at such an early sort of, coming right out of Around the World in a Day. It was already, to me, I mean, you can hear, to me, the difference in the sound, that everything just sort of ramped up. Even if this would have been the album, which can kind of be crazy to say, this would have been a head buster. Like a lot of these songs would have been were crazy if we would have heard them, at that time. Some of these songs we still haven't heard or weren't even released yet. Call of the Wild, which I think would have been a crazy song that he came out with back then. I don't think I wouldn't have been ready for it. Sexual Suicide either. Like, and then Alexis de Paris. I mean, just the variation in his ability is crazy. And these are just the rough mixes of just a compilation of songs at this point. But fantastic stuff already.
I love Sexual Suicide, and I don't know. I just don't see it being in Under the Cherry Moon. I would be really curious where he would have wanted to put it.
It would have definitely fit with the message of age protection and things like that was kind of going on. It was building around this time, and so having that song on there would have raised questions. You know what I'm saying? And also
talking about it. So yeah, there's a line from Sexual Suicide, if I'm not mistaken, that he uses in the movie. Remember when he catches Isaac at Mary Sharon's house and he sees the car and he says, "Ain't nobody like your body, baby." Doesn't he say, "Ain't nobody like your body" in Sexual Suicide? Yeah. So I mean, you could clearly see that he was trying to find it somewhere, because the first time I heard Sexual Suicide, I heard that line, like, oh, that's the line when he's talking about Isaac's car. We'll be landing on the moon in 2 hours.
That is such a great scene.
Even just the instrumentation. To me, that sounds very similar to Girls and Boys. It kind of matches that. Like, it could have been a background music when they're running down.
Yeah, no. Honestly, and I want to be clear, I don't like it better than, but I think that it would have. I think you could swap that out with Love of Money, although Love of Money fits because it's lyrically the same. It says the lyrics, but if you're not listening to the lyrics, I think that Sexual Suicide could have been in that montage, right there where Love of Money is.
Or even when he's sitting in the car listening to what's the song? It's from the album. Life Can Be So Nice.
Yeah, Life Can Be So Nice.
Even sitting there, he's just in the car gigging. Okay.
Wait, but then you ain't doing it right.
Right. I don't see a lot of conversation about that. Christopher Tracy was definitely on something else. Too pretty.
There you go. He did write the song "Pretty Man" a little later. Much later he wrote "Pretty Man."
It could have been. That could have fit right in there. Yeah, there's a I like the part when it's another lover, isn't it? When he's driving down the street and he takes the time to look in the rear view mirror and like, and then keeps on driving. I'm like, damn, Chris.
Oh, this is an interesting comment. Anything to replace Kiss on Parade. Now,
Get the pitchforks! Get the pitchforks for EA! Get the pitchforks!
No, hold on. So what if we replace Kiss with Sexual Suicide? I mean, obviously Kiss is one of his biggest hits. But if we take the hit aspect off, do we think that Sexual Suicide would have been a better fit than Kiss?
No.
Really?
Okay, let me say
just because where he kisses and then it comes like that's just perfect. You know,
yeah.
Okay. All right. So we have our guests, and I don't want to make our guests wait. So we're going to hold that conversation. We're talking about Parade. We're talking about Kiss. We're talking about Sexual Suicide. We're talking about Moonbeam Levels. So Kim, our timekeeper, make sure we get back on track. And yes, and we'll end with this. I am so excited. I am always super excited whenever we're able to talk to Miss Andrea Swensson.
Woo! Yeah.
Ooh, hello. What's up?
All right.
It's going well. It's going well. So I know everyone might be thinking, why is Andrea on today? And the reason being, it's about this book today, though, Steve.
Okay, my bad. All right, my bad.
All these books. I love it.
There you go. Let's go get all the books out.
Let's hold them up again. Let's hold them all up so everybody can see all of Andrea's books.
She's been busy. She's been working.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
The Purple Rain book and Deeper Blues about Cornbread Harris were released in the same year. Talking about the hardest woman working in the book field.
Working like a job for real.
Hey, brother, pick up the Purple Rain book again. Pick up the Purple Rain book again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What is that, velvet?
Yes.
There you go.
Beautiful book.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful book. It really is. So I am so excited, Andrea, to talk to you today about the brand new audiobook. I don't have a physical, I can't get a physical copy of an audiobook. So we're going with the hardcover here. So first of all, if you don't have the hardcover, you want to make sure that you get it. And this was released last year, Deeper Blues, and this is about Jimmy Jam's father, in case you don't know who Cornbread Harris is. And this is an excellent book, and the book that Celie held up, Celie, if you don't mind holding it up one more time, is essentially Andrea's first book, and it is so critical about the history of music in Minneapolis. So if you want to know where Prince got his musicianship from, it's about the entire community, and Got to Be Something Here, which is actually the name of a song, that Prince actually played on in Sonny's band, in one of Sonny's bands. So there's so many connections with Andrea. But I am so excited about this audiobook because I love listening to audiobooks only when they are read by the author. And when you first announced it, anytime an audiobook is announced, the first thing I do is I run over to Audible and I check narrated by, and I saw Andrea and I was like, yes. And then I saw Cornbread Harris and I was like, yes. And then I saw Jimmy Jam and I was like, oh my God, this is the best audiobook ever. And so I just really wanted to have you on to talk to us about what that process was like. And also hopefully people will actually go and get the Audible and listen to it, because it's a fantastic way, to listen to books nowadays, especially on your commute and all of that jazz. So I'll stop talking, Andrea. Hopefully you'll understand how excited I am about this audiobook and that you're willing to come on to talk to us about it. So talk to us about how this Audible came to be, how long you worked on it, what the process was like. Fill us in.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for just all your kind words and support of my work. First of all, it just really means the world to me. So much of my work is done either just one-on-one with people I'm interviewing or alone in this chair that I'm sitting in now. And it's just such a validation to know that you have my books and that you've read my books and that they're like out in the world and these stories are actually reaching people. So thank you. I wanted to make an audiobook as soon as I started working with Cornbread because he has such a distinct way of speaking and of viewing the world. And he speaks through his music as well. There's deeper messages that he conveys when he plays piano, and it often happens in the middle of a story. So I knew right away it needed to be recorded and hopefully included in some kind of audio presentation, whether it was a podcast or an audio book. So I recorded everything. I mean, I got a new recorder, like a really nice one. I brought it and I had a little tripod. I'd set it in front of him. I'd record him playing piano. I'd literally record him just answering the phone. I call him every week to tell him I'm coming over. And he always answers the same way, good morning, good morning. And then I say, how you doing today, Cornbread? And he always says, exquisite, which I think is, as the years go on, even more and more impressive that a 98-year-old, is starting the day feeling exquisite. Wow. So I wanted all these little moments to be captured, and I wanted Jimmy's voice in there as well, and to have their voices centered. So I learned a lot about how audiobooks are created. It's kind of convoluted in the publishing world. Your publisher tries to option it to one of these big companies that makes audiobooks, and then they get to kind of take it and run with it. So we got a couple offers, one in particular, to have a different company make the book, but they said that I couldn't narrate it and that it would be a single narrator. And that was just like a deal breaker for me, because I could not imagine a way where that would sound good or make sense for the story. So I did it all by myself. I hired the same audio team that made the Prince podcasts with me.
Nice.
Same audio editor, Anna Weigel, and same technical director, Corey Schreppel. He's just such an amazing engineer and mixer. And he really brings that kind of, I always call it the magic fairy dust that gets sprinkled on top when everything's all put together. So it was so fun to work with them on a new project, and we just really dove in, and it took us maybe about 4 months, start to finish. I was recording my voiceover in my closet, which Cornbread found absolutely delightful. So I would bring each chapter as we finished it to his house, and we would listen to it together, and he'd say all these comments like, boy, that closet sounds good. And now I'm in the closet with you. And, all these like funny comments. So he loved it, the whole process. And then once we got further in, I said, Jimmy, your voice is obviously in here in the pieces that I've recorded. But I actually had him come to my house when he was in Minnesota. And he sat in this chair and he recorded some of the text messages that he had sent me so that those could be in his voice. And then he recorded the afterword so that could be, read in one take. And it was just so fun to work on like a whole audio experience. And I think all three of us have been on this ride together for the last 4 years, and it allowed us to all experience it all again. I know Cornbread and I have talked about a lot that it's like a way to kind of relive the whole experience that we've had. And Jimmy said when I sent him the finished product, he literally put it on at 1 a.m. and he didn't stop listening until it was done. And he looked up and it was 7 a.m. and he's like, oh, I guess I was going to listen to a chapter. And then he listened to the whole thing. And I think that's just such a testament to how powerful the experience has been for all of us, and how connected we feel now to the story and to each other. So it's been just a total DIY thing, and a labor of love, but also like really just kind of a cathartic part of this whole process, because it has been a really personal process.
I think that Prince would be proud that you did a DIY. You know what I mean? And that that's one of the things that I always took from Prince, like if it can't work out, just do it yourself and you make it happen. So I am so thrilled that you pushed back on that and that you didn't accept, oh, this is a way that it should be done. You go like, no, this is how I want to do it. And we are so grateful for it, because I can't hear like a single narrator. I was so, you have no idea. I was so psyched when I saw those 3 names. I was like, this is incredible, incredible. So I so appreciate you. And also getting Cornbread's voice recorded is so important. And I say this for everybody in here. If you haven't recorded your family members, do so. You're going to miss their voice. You're going to miss their mannerisms. In fact, I have this thing called it's right next to me. This is my grandmother, and it's called an infinite object. It's going to come back on, and this will be probably my grandfather. And I have this by me so I can just see their mannerisms, and you can't hear them because it's silent, but just having them by my side every day is like so incredible. So like, it's so important to do that. And I'm so thrilled that not only did you get Cornbread, but you also got his son on the same audiobook, which is just like really incredible. I mean, I really am touched. I am very moved at how powerful this should be for anyone who takes the time to listen. And I hope that all of you out there will actually get the audiobook and listen to it, because it's nothing like hearing the real people narrate their own stories.
Yes.
So incredible.
It's funny you brought up Prince, because part of the process, and Jimmy actually was a great coach through this whole process of basically turning down money so that I could do something well. And he really encouraged me, to pursue what I thought was like the best route. And at a certain point, I was in negotiations with my publisher, and they actually signed the audio rights to my book to me. And I got to sign like a new contract where I own my own work and my own story. And I was like, oh, okay, if I feel this good about this like small detail of this one book that I wrote, like I can't even imagine, the importance to someone like Prince, who risked it all to gain that kind of control over his catalog, or someone like Taylor Swift, who just, had that moment. It was very, very cool to know that this is something that now, Jimmy and Cornbread and I, like, it's ours, and it always will be.
That is so incredible. Go ahead, Mike.
I have a question for you, Andrea. What is it about Prince? What is it about, Minneapolis, Minnesota, that drives you to do this? Like, you've done a lot of cultural work in regards to, Black music from your area, really covering Prince. The thing here with Jimmy Jam and his father, that's another level, kind of like of sort of documenting the father-son relationship with music, lineage. So I'm just curious, like, what is it that moves you to do this?
I think honestly, it just like I saw a void in my work. I, in my day-to-day life, I've been mostly a music journalist, very trained on the Twin Cities music scene. Mm-hmm. There's only really a handful of us in town that are, working full-time at that work of documenting the music scene kind of as it unfolds, and also in history. And I got far enough into my career where I was thinking about writing a book, and I thought, gosh, there's been like literally 4 books about the Replacements who are, hometown heroes, and very worthy of a book for sure. But I think it was, I saw maybe the 4th book being announced about the Replacements. There's been 2 books about Husker Du. And I just thought, there's this one part of the scene that gets so much attention, and that these stories are being told and canonized in a way where if there aren't other local books weighing out this narrative, that's just going to be, what has been documented as our history. And I just saw an opportunity to try to dig deeper and find other stories to tell. And when I was starting to work on my first book, that was also when I started really actively covering Prince more. That, he was really active in the community. He started doing more events at Paisley Park. He was forming Third Eye Girl. So that was, kind of basically formed like a local band. They were, starting to pop up in clubs here, and he sent them over to the Current to be interviewed. And anyway, I realized that if I was going to go out and start writing about Prince, and if he was going to be reading what I was writing, which he made it clear very early on that he was, I needed to know my stuff, and not just his career and his catalog, which was a whole learning process for me, but also just how he fits in with this story. And I knew that there was a community around him because I had started to meet more of these people that, you know, mentored him and played, you know, decades before him. And I just became kind of fixated on it, I guess. And I really just saw this opportunity to try to fill in some gaps in like how Minnesotans talk about themselves and what our shared history is and what our music scene really is, and to try to push back on this very white narrative that had been created. At the same time, like, you know, really expanding my own understanding of like whiteness and how to like, you know, be an anti-racist. And it was like all of these things happening in the span of a few years of my life as I'm really like getting to a new level of my career. And I think it was just like this kind of perfect timing of like really wanting to step up to the plate and like prove myself to Prince as a writer, and also like deepen my understanding of the scene that I love so much and have been writing about. And it just all kind of crashed together in this way, of me really needing to like know about the history of Black music in order to write about it. So yeah, it was a lot of stuff, but when the first book started, there was a couple of compilations that came out. I'm sure you guys all are familiar with the Purple Snow compilation.
Yes.
Numero group put out, and then there was a label called Secret Stash that did this Twin Cities Funk and Soul compilation that's so good. And that's where a lot of the musicians that were featured on that compilation just started popping up. And I started meeting them out at, you know, DJ nights where people would be spinning their 45s and they would come out and check it out. Or there was a couple of reunion shows that happened where these kind of like super groups of funk bands and soul bands from the 60s and 70s got together. And I just thought, these people are here and they have amazing stories because they're telling them just backstage, you know, as they run into each other, and all these memories are coming up. And I just thought at the very least I can do is start recording it. And then it just kind of took over, where I interviewed more and more people and started to piece together not just this history of the music and all of their experiences on stage, but just the, you know, absolute racism and segregation and discrimination and prejudice that they were up against just to get onto that stage. It was extremely eye-opening for me. I felt like it deepened my understanding of like who I am and who they are and where we all are now. And it became this process of trying to understand. I think that's really what was driving it.
I just wanted to say thank you for talking specifically about being intentional about constructing a canon, because I think that, and you, I mean, you really, a lot of things that I said, you really made it clear, because, and I'm glad you started with that, because one of the things that happens in all of Black history, and particularly to Black artists, is people think, well, we got the one book or the one movie about this Black person, you don't need another. But there'll be 4 or 5 books about a white artist, or 4 or 5 movies about a white artist. And I'm really, I just want to thank you for making that, just saying that, because I think people need to understand, and and I think we all got to get out of that. We all got to get out of this notion that, well, the Black artists or the Black historical people, right? There's one Martin Luther King movie, or there's one Malcolm X movie. We don't need him. No, because, and I know it's gonna sound crazy, especially with me, somebody not being like a really big kind of religious person, but although, you know, people, I always tell people, think about the 4 Gospels. Think about the 4 Gospels. So you got Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They're all books about the same dude. But they're books about the same dude written from 4 perspectives. One was written specifically for a Greek audience. The other was written specifically for a Jewish audience. The third was written because I think it was Luke, who was a doctor, wanted to do a specific historical. Like Luke is like trying to make you believe these things happen by showing you all these specific documented things. So the work that you're doing, Sister Swensson, is speaking to the point of, we need as many books about Prince. We need as many movies about Prince. We need as many documentaries about Prince. And we got to get out of not just Prince, but all Black artists are saying, well, somebody did that book. I don't know, because your experience, and your research and your know-how. I mean, what is covered? I want to be clear. What is covered in this book, right? When you look at, so I have a chapter in my book called Minneapolis as a Microcosm of America, right? This book takes that chapter and expands it and dissects it and blows it out the water so that you truly understand that Prince was not an alien dropped out of the sky somewhere, but he was a black man from a black community that had a deep-rooted history that went all the way back to black people who were some of the original founders of the territory of Minnesota. And we don't get that if Sister Swensson doesn't do her work. So I want, and y'all know I say this all the time, the definition of an expert is somebody who knows a little bit more than you. So I thank Sister Swensson, and I thank everybody else, and we need to follow her lead and Brother Dean's lead and Prof. Duff's lead, that we need to produce as much work, because I'm going to end on this, as I always do. Either you tell the story right, or you're going to be mad about somebody telling it wrong. That's it. I'll shut up.
Ooh, yes. All of that.
Yes, for sure. So I just want to show everybody really quickly the compilation that Andrea was talking about. I finally got the vinyl, which is the Purple Snow compilation. And it's so amazing. It has like early records by Andre Simone, Jimmy Jam, Sue Ann. We don't talk enough about Sue Ann. And it's just really an extraordinary compilation for sure. So we have I have some more questions about the audiobook that I want to ask, but we do have what we call the next power generation in the chat, our younger fans. And one of them wants to know, what is your entry point with Prince? So if you don't mind sharing that, that would be amazing.
Oh, wow. Well, I learned recently while working on the Purple Rain 40 book that I was born the day that Prince recorded Let's Go Crazy.
Wow.
Which is what a good time to enter the world. So I don't have like an experience with what it was like to be alive without Prince. Like it was just always there. He was, when I was a baby, Purple Rain came out and my mom put it in my baby book that was like the big event of the year. It's just been such a part of being a Minnesotan, being a music fan. Like it's always been there. But I will say I didn't become a fan and really start actively seeking him out and following him until the late 90s when I was a teenager. And the first record that I bought with my own money of Prince's was Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic, which I bought because Ani DeFranco and Gwen Stefani were on it.
Hilarious.
And I was like, oh, these songs are so good. And then I went and saw him. And it turns out the first Prince show I went to was one of the worst shows he ever played. And I still loved it, but there was something very strange happening. It was at the end of the 2001 celebration. He played at our arena here in St. Paul, and the sound was off, and he was really upset about it. So he was in a weird mood. He wasn't super engaging. I was in the nosebleeds, but I was like, well, I saw Prince. And then it was like years went by. And of course, like everybody, I was stunned by, all the big mainstream cultural moments of the early 2000s with Prince. But it wasn't until he really came back home and started popping up again. He started hanging out at this dance club called Envy in downtown Minneapolis, and people would blog about it because it was the blog days. And there was started to be this buzz about like, oh, he's back. He's home. He's not hanging out in LA as much. And that's when I really got curious to start studying his music. Lotus Flower came out, and there's the Minneapolis Sound disc on there. And I was like, what is the Minneapolis Sound? It was just really like this kind of pure unknowing exploration of him. And then when I did finally see him again live, it was in a 250 seat jazz club, the Dakota, and it absolutely blew my mind. And I saw him every single chance I could get after that. And it was also the night that I ended up somehow on his radar. It was just, I felt like I got thrown in and then just started trying to swim as fast as I could to learn as much as I could.
Wow. That's why I want to just expand on that. Like, when did you go from, getting into it to where you said, I had to learn? Like, when did you start to go back and let me go back and do the research on this? Let me go back and listen to these old albums. how long did it take for you to get to that point?
It did take a while. I mean, it was really when he started hanging around town again. He showed up at this show, I want to say it was in 2010. We were all at First Ave for a current birthday party, and he showed up there. And that was like, whoa, he's actually like part of the music scene. And then he showed up the next year at this kind of super group band. They were playing at First Ave, and he showed up and plugged in his guitar and played a little bit backstage. So I think it was around that period where I started appreciating like that he was still connected to the music scene, and that I wanted to know more beyond like just the hits. So that's when I started digging more into the catalog and trying to, at that point I was buying a lot of vinyl records just to try to catch up because, there wasn't streaming yet and everything. So it was, I just kind of started studying him. And then, seeing him live in these little clubs, then I would hear all these different songs from different parts of his career and be like, oh, what was that? Like, I remember he freestyled with Kendrick Lamar on What's My Name at Paisley Park. And then I was like, What's My Name? That's like one of the coolest songs I've ever heard. I had no idea what it was, Wow. So there's just been all these chances where I get thrown down like a new rabbit hole, and that's still happening. It's been a while now. It's still happening.
Real quick, because I know we got a Neil here. And it's interesting that you said your first album was rave. Like I love that. That's just a different way to come in. And so with that said, is there an era that you just can fall back in and be like, this was always going to be my Prince. Like, this is my comfort zone. Maybe it's I don't know if it's the rave thing, but is there an era that you just like, I can always listen to this?
Well, the One Night Alone record is like, I've listened to it as all the time because it's so comforting to me. It's just so peaceful. And I put it on when I'm writing, and I just know every little nook and cranny of that album. But I would say like when I started doing the podcast and started interviewing people, I have this real soft spot for all the vault material on the 1999 box set. So that's probably like my second most common era. I'll listen to the normal record, but I really love all the vault material on there because I can just see him sitting in his basement in Chanhassen looking out at that lake. I went and looked at the lake when I was working on that, and I could just see it all happening. And I know all the people that were coming and going from that house. And there's just something really special to me about that.
So quick question, because you mentioned the Dakota. And I'm thinking is that the 2013 with Third Eye Girl and also the expanded NPG?
Yes.
And so my question for you is, seeing him at the Dakota with both, I guess I'll do an open-ended question. How was that for you, knowing that it was essentially two bands there? Like, this Prince is basically doing two bands. There's Third Eye Girl, and then there's the expanded NPG. Did you think about that, or was that anything that was on your radar that you was experiencing that way?
Oh yeah. So I went the first night that I got to see him. He was with the NPG, and they marched in with like a horn line, and there was a lot of just showbiz kind of woo vibe to it, and it was really exciting. And then to see him, I was on the balcony looking down at the stage, so it must have been only like 25 feet from him as he was singing Nothing Compares to You with Shelby J. And it's like, wow, who's that? It was just like so many talented musicians. And then he was such a just captivating band leader. And then the next night is when he debuted Third Eye Girl. And I again was on the balcony looking down, but everyone, they cleared away all the tables and everyone was standing. So it was like a big rock show. And it was, to me, just really striking that he had two projects going and seemed to be equally committed to both and developing sounds and approaches to both. And they were so different. I mean, Third Eye Girl was just, it reminds me actually a lot of Babes in Toyland, this like grunge band from Minneapolis, who I know to go see sometimes. And they were just so powerful. And I really think he was trying to channel something like that with that band. And I got to stand next to Bobby Z. I'd never met him before. So that was kind of fun because I was like, ooh, I'm with someone that's known Prince since he was like, a teenager. That's cool. So yeah, the whole thing was really fascinating to watch.
And I know Brother Neil is on something, but I just want to say, I don't think those Dakota shows get enough love. And I really, for me, it's when you talk about your balcony, like my balcony is right outside. I was getting those boots. I can say it now. I was getting them like in real time. And so I was literally on my balcony listening to those two shows like a week or so after they happened. And I've always said that those Dakota shows for me represented the same thing that the Exodus and the Gold Experience. It was the new Prince. And it was Prince at the Dakota show giving you the next new him. I'll shut up.
You could tell he was exploring again for sure. It felt like he had a couple times where he did that, right? There was those Dakota shows. There was the 87 shows at First Avenue where he introduced that Sign of the Times band, obviously the August 83 shows. I just crashed, Andrea, because I'm the biggest fan. But also, for folks who don't have the book or haven't heard the book, there's an interesting thing where there's this through line from There Must Be Something Here into talking about cornbread. And I just wanted to like sort of prompt you to get a chance to talk to folks about like what you've learned about this scene, right? That you're years into capturing decades of this scene. And I wanted you to get a chance to sort of talk about that for folks who have maybe not had a chance to read or to listen yet, like what you've learned about those connections that cornbread has to that larger scene that people might get to learn from listening.
I would love to talk about that. So cornbread, for those unaware, is Jimmy Jam's father, obviously, but such a legend in the Minnesota scene in his own right. His story begins after World War II. He started playing the piano for the troops in the day room at his army base and realized that even though he didn't really know that many songs, if he could kind of plunk his way through a request, it would turn these people's day around. Who are, going through this absolutely traumatic event together. So he came home and started a swing band and led this, at times 9, 12-piece orchestra, basically, like Duke Ellington style. And he led that for a few years up until the birth of rock and roll. And then he was in literally one of the state's first rock and roll bands with this Mexican-American guy from the west side of St. Paul named Augie Garcia. And they played sold out shows for teenagers in one of the suburbs of St. Paul and became this real hot commodity. He had the first couple 45s recorded. So his history goes back. I mean, we're talking to like the birth of several genres in this city, and that he was not only contributing, but like shaping the sound in these early days. I found a recording of Augie Garcia later talking about how he developed the sound of his band because of the way cornbread played piano. That he had this boogie woogie bass line, and that he brought in this kind of rhythm shuffle, and that it completely informed the sound of his band, which became like this hit band. So he was literally shaping and crafting this sound, obviously birthing a very talented musician of the next generation. But, and I think one of the more profound experiences in working with Jimmy and cornbread is that Jimmy stopped forgetting that he was his dad's drummer when he was 12 years old, and that his dad taught him how to play gigs and, support a band and be part of this community. His dad brought him into the recording studio for the first time, which is incredible. Jimmy would tell me this story about how he remembered visiting this recording studio with his dad, who was recording with an artist named James Bonner. And if you go on YouTube, you can hear the song. It's James Bonner, Don't Rush It. It features cornbread on organ, totally uncredited. And so he would bring up the story all the time because it actually led to the divorce of cornbread and Jimmy's mom, Bertha, because the record again became a little bit of a local regional hit. It started getting some airplay. The band got invited to go on tour, and it led to this enormous crashing of desires in their home, as Jimmy's mom did not want cornbread to be so active in music, and especially not to go out on tour. So it led to fights and then a separation and divorce. So Jimmy would tell me this story over and over again about, this foundational moment in my life when my dad, made this record and then started to go away. And not only did I get the record, and I found enough copies that I was able to give Jimmy one so that he could actually like have this 45 again, but I found this guy who said he was going to make a documentary about cornbread 15 years ago, flaked out but turns out kept a lot of Cornbread stuff. So I finally found him, and I went to meet him and got these boxes of Cornbread stuff back. And I'm flipping through the photo albums, and there's a picture in there of Cornbread at an organ in a recording studio, and Jimmy at age 11 looking over his shoulder and watching what he was doing. And I just absolutely started bursting into tears and started sobbing, because I'm like, I know not only like who the people in this picture are, but I know what's happening. And I texted it to Jimmy, and he just sent back the head exploding emoji. And we're like, wow. So there's just been so many moments like that where it's, I've been able to just, trace all these pivotal times in Cornbread's life that are all centered on music, and to really see how much he's contributed for decades now to all these different things. So yeah, I kind of already lost track of my original.
No, it's good. There's a couple of things I was going to pull out there just real quick. One of those was saying like Cornbread had a 12-piece band, right? And you were just talking about Dakota, and that MPG horn section that comes in is a 13-piece band, right? So like these guys grow up like seeing their dads do that exact same thing. And then you talk about the photo of Jimmy when he's 11 years old, and we all have seen that clip of Prince at 11 years old talking about the teachers, right? And like who these kids are is formed at that same age, right? I think this is just like so interesting how those echo. And then I immediately go to picturing like Prince brings, like the first time he brings Jimmy back into the fold after firing them is like for Graffiti Bridge, and there's the Seven Corners clubs, and that's where their dads were playing.
Right.
Yes.
And like that's just straight homage to like this is where we would have seen them gigging out, not together but in the same scene. And I don't think like I was watching Graffiti Bridge, I wasn't like picking that up, but now I get it. Like it's so like literal. Like Prince is literally just trying to tell that story, and then brings in his friends who were there, whose dads were there, telling that exact same story and putting those guys alongside him. I feel like you are like offering the footnotes or the Cliff's notes to literally what Prince was putting on the screen, and people didn't get, obviously it was something like Graffiti Bridge. Like Graffiti Bridge was my sort of like rave, where there's like my entry point, and also in the same way where people are like, really, that's what you got into Prince with? Like, because there's the entry points you're supposed to have, and the records of his that are respected. And then I think so many of us are like, turns out the ones that people would, disrespect or whatever are incredible albums and incredible music and incredible tours and whatever also. But I just am really struck by like now if I look at, like I said, Graffiti Bridge or something like that, it is literally that story. Like you can map the individual parts of the set that are built in Paisley Park to some of these clubs that they're playing in.
Well, it's very literal because Cornbread was an extra in that film.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
Craig Rice, one of the producers of Graffiti Bridge, he's been around the Twin Cities scene forever. He knows everybody, and he knew all the previous generation, everyone's dads basically that were in all these jazz bands. So he brought in some of those kind of legends from the scene to be in the background. So at one point, Cornbread is right behind Morris in a street scene, wearing a long white trench coat and white hat, and holding on. His memory of it now is, I was holding on to this pretty lady's arm. And
it's another family resemblance, all these guys.
There you go.
And then at one point, he was.
Did Jimmy see his dad there on the set?
Well, I am so glad you brought this up, because it's actually another huge pivotal moment in their lives. At another point, you can see Cornbread over a trash can that's on fire. He's like a bum in an alleyway.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Wow.
And so as this was all happening, Craig Rice knew that the two of them had already at that point been estranged for over 10 years. And he was hoping that if Jimmy saw Cornbread on set, maybe it would inspire him to like come over and say hello. And what happened instead was something that I still don't know totally in detail, because the details get fuzzy after this much time. But what Cornbread remembers is getting something of a cold shoulder from his son, not being able to talk to him. Some kind of conflict transpired on set. And Cornbread spent a lot of his time in this kind of back room somewhere at Paisley, probably, playing piano for people as they waited to get called into different scenes. So all the extras would be sitting around for 12-hour days, eating their little box lunch and waiting to get called. And Cornbread started playing piano for them. And he actually wrote a song in that experience called Street People, about being a bum in an alleyway and a limousine driving past and this guy throwing out $1 and scoffing at him. And he's talking about the divide, between him and Jimmy. And it was so illuminating to learn that part of their story. And it's one of those moments where, they had an opportunity to come together and then it just pushed them further apart. But it's also such a metaphor for Cornbread literally being in the background of this sound as it's being, projected across the globe in another film. And I find all of that really interesting, and it really, there's something about it that's at the core of their journey together, I think.
Yeah, and I'm glad you spoke on this, because I wanted to ask you about this. And I have not read the book yet, but I've seen some of the interviews with you, Jimmy Jam and whatnot, and I picked up where he said something about being estranged from his dad. And I was curious, during the process of this, was this one of the things that, had they started to mend the relationship before this book started? Or, was this helping that sort of thing happen? And also, if you could just speak to it. Yeah, to me, when I look at Prince, I'm coming in on the realm of Purple Rain. So to me, the father-son story is how I identify with it, because I can understand that. And then knowing about some of what Prince's upbringing and stuff. And it just seems like the father and the son, I don't know if it's in Minneapolis, it's probably all over in our communities. But what can you just speak to, like, yes, I understand the music is fascinating, but that relationship between the son and the father, or lack of relationship, how does, do you see any connection in that? They seem to, all of these cats, I don't know how the relationship with their father is. Sometimes we see the father, sometimes the father is sort of demonized to us with people like this. I'm talking about Joe Jackson or Serena's father and different things of that nature. Even I would speak how people sort of demonize Larry Graham in my mind, sort of falls a little bit from that as well. But I'm just curious, what did you learn about just that connection between the father and the son? Because for me, looking at that's one of the most important things I'm feeling from this book that you've done, and getting these two generations of Black men together.
Yeah, I've learned so much from the whole experience. So just a brief history. They lost contact with each other in the mid-'70s when Jimmy's parents separated. And for whatever reason, they just went their own ways. Jimmy started getting way more active in the music scene, forming his own bands, starting to work with Terry, and then getting into the time. And we all know how that story goes. Cornbread had his own career, got through he worked for a foundry for 40 years, got into retirement, started really hitting the clubs, becoming just this kind of omnipresent barroom entertainer. And they were just kind of on these two separate tracks for almost 50 years. And then what happened with me was that I ended up playing this kind of bit part in their first reunion. And there's a lot about what happened in Jimmy's life to transpire to get him to this point where he wanted to reach out. But I was actually texting with him about my first book, and we were chatting a little bit one day, and this was in 2021. And he wrote back and he was like, "Hey, by the way, I was thinking of coming through Minneapolis. We're going to tape this thing at Paisley Park for the Billboard Music Awards. Do you know how to get a hold of my dad?" And I was like, wow. "Whoa, what?" At that point, I knew that their relationship was strained. I didn't know any other details. And I said, "Well, yeah, he's been to the Current to interview me, so I could put you in touch with, this guy that kind of helps him get around, and maybe he could set something up. Or get you his number." And then I put the phone down thinking like, wow, that was like very extraordinary thing to have happen. And then a few days went by and he sent me this picture, and it was Jimmy and Cornbread and Jimmy's son, Max. And Jimmy wrote, "I just wanted to say thank you for your help. We were able to get together. Max was able to meet his grandfather for the first time, and it was the first time that Cornbread and I had spoken in 35 years.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I mean, wow, what a text.
That right there, Andrea, that was your assignment. That was your real assignment right there. Like,
yes,
all the other stuff is excellent, but that right there,
Right.
I was ready for it too. I had just quit my job. Funny how those things happen. So I was looking for something to do.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, within a week, I was sitting in front of Cornbread, telling him that I wanted to write this book. And I really don't know what inspired me to say that. It was one of those things where you just blurt it out and you're like, this is happening. And Cornbread says that's when the angels brought me.
I wanted to connect with Brother Dash's question, or pointed question, and make an extra question. My position has always been that when Prince starts doing the after shows in '86, that is a direct tribute to his father and the Cornbread and all the Black artists, because what you learn about, people don't realize that when Prince was growing up, and as late as the mid 1990s, Minneapolis is less than 3% Black. And so when you have to understand that it's less than 3% Black, but it's also very progressive, because not long after that, I think they elect their first Black city councilman. So you have this dichotomy where it's a really, really small African-American community that's making a big impact culturally. And so my question to you is, learning about that background and doing research on that, and knowing that the musicians of Cornbread Harris and John L. Nelson, they had to be doubly talented, because to make money, they had to know how to play polkas and Scandinavian music and those kind of things. And then so they would go on that side of town and make money. Then they would go back to North Minneapolis and play for themselves. Those were the original after party shows. And so for me, and that's why Prince in the after parties, he's doing covers, because the covers are an homage to them. So I wanted to know, for you, in thinking about that and thinking about Cornbread and thinking about that generation, how did you see those after shows, or just any notion that is being homages in the research that you were doing about how Cornbread Harris and them had to move to both make money and be true to the art that they wanted to make?
Yeah, I mean, that is so spot on to observe that, because that was absolutely the case for, Cornbread's generation and slightly younger artists, that they would go play these, almost exclusively white audiences, maybe play a theater downtown or a club or something. And then there's a jazz club in North Minneapolis called the Blue Note, and they would have these late night jams that would go all night. And there's been a little bit of discrepancy, but Taika actually told me that that's where John and Maddie met, was at the Blue Note Club during one of these kind of late night jams. So you'd go from playing an almost all white room to an almost all Black room. And I'm sure the music was wildly different. I forget what I wanted to get back to something else that Michael had asked me, but now I'm forgetting what it was. But I definitely, I learned a lot about how that music is passed down along the generations too, because, I'll tell one story first that Jimmy told me that I really enjoyed, was that the first day that he met Prince, they were in this keyboard room at school. And of course, neither of them said anything out loud to each other, but sat down side by side at the piano and started playing back and forth. And Jimmy said that he started with one of his cornbread licks, or, my dad's licks is how he described it. This kind of like really, dazzling jazz lick. And then Prince played it back. And I thought, what a moment when the fathers are speaking through the sons, through the piano, at each other, and that they saw a commonality immediately and formed this bond like really early on. I thought that was really poignant. In the healing process of their relationship. So after, I said, okay, I'm going to get embroiled in your lives. Let's start working on this book. I interviewed Cornbread for maybe 4 months, just the two of us. And I really wanted him and I to get on a good page and understanding. And then I reached out to Jimmy and I asked if he wanted to be involved. And he did. He wrote back right away and he was like, totally. And I threw out this idea of what if we get on Zoom and we'll be at Cornbread's house and I can, pull up my phone or iPad, we'll try to connect, and I have no idea if it'll work because he lives in a place where the reception is really bad, but we tried it. And within 3 minutes of logging onto that Zoom call, this would have been their only second conversation in, you know, almost 50 years. Cornbread goes, listen to this. And he turns around and he starts playing the piano. And by the second Zoom, Jimmy was ready. And when Cornbread got on and said, listen to this, Jimmy had his organ set on his desk and he started playing back. So there was conversation verbally, you know, I was theoretically like interviewing both of them. So we're doing a lot of reminiscing and fact checking and that kind of stuff. But then the real conversation, and I really believe where the healing started for both of them, was playing music, even on Zoom, even, you know, stuff you can barely hear or feel. But Cornbread, I mean, at that point was 95 years old and he figured it out. He was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Call and response. I play, you play, I play, you play. And they would sit and do this for, you know, half an hour. And then the look on both of their faces afterwards was this like utter relief. And you could tell that there was something being released. And Cornbread would often turn around and his face would be wet. And I could just see this, like, they're saying something to each other. And I don't speak that exact language, but I get the gist. I can tell what's being communicated. And it became this real emotional musical journey. And that continued for months until Cornbread had a birthday party coming up. And he started dropping hints and he would say, you know, I think it'd be really great if the two of us played together. And maybe it could be at Carnegie Hall. Maybe it could be at the Hook and Ladder, which is his favorite club in Minneapolis. And then he said, you know, my birthday's coming up. And he would just every week on Zoom, he'd kind of drop these hints. And then finally, I was kind of nudged both of them. And I was like, I just want to make sure, Jimmy, you're aware that Cornbread is asking you to come play at his birthday party. And Jimmy held up his phone and he had the whole day blocked off and it said Cornbread's birthday party. And I was like, yay, it's going to happen. So Jimmy came home and he got on stage for the second set and he played the most tentative organ parts I've ever heard in my life. You could tell he was terrified of overshadowing or overstepping or doing anything to overpower Cornbread. And he was so careful about making sure this is Cornbread's show. I'm just here to like tap a little bit in the background on the keyboard. It was incredible. But then at the end of the night, all the band kind of cleared away and Cornbread usually likes to do one last kind of little improvisation alone on stage. And Jimmy stayed there and they started doing that call and response in real time. And everybody in the room understood what was happening and was sobbing. It was so powerful. So it's just that connection and that musical language, as they both describe it, I really think has been the driving force of all of this. And why they now are in each other's lives in a really tender and amazing way. Jimmy's been coming home a lot. He's been here almost like every month lately. He just came home to watch Cornbread play the last show ever at this bar called Palmer's, 119-year-old bar that just closed, which it was just such a sad thing. Wow. He wanted Cornbread to be the last person to ever play because he has had a residency there for 20 years. And so everyone was crammed into this bar, crying already because the bar was so special to people. But Jimmy wanted to be there for that. And he sat and watched his dad play. And then at the end, everyone was very drunk. And the bartender started throwing ice around the room. And it got like, I was like, okay, a fight is about to break out. And Cornbread, I don't know what. But Cornbread's band, a lot of them are horn players. And they put their horns down. They're like, we're not going to play if you're throwing ice at us. And the whole room kind of froze. And then Cornbread just started playing a new song. And Jimmy looked over at the drummer and kind of gave him like a nod. And he went and got behind the drum kit and the two of them played. And that was the first time Jimmy had drummed with his dad since he was 12.
Whoa.
Wow. That was the last thing that ever happened at this historic bar before it closed. So there's just been so many moments where it's like Jimmy and I often say, like, as I was writing this book and as we watch these things unfold, like, is anyone going to believe that this happened? Like, there's been so many like just cinematic, really poignant moments that were like, is this actual life? Because it feels so beautiful that it actually kind of hurts somehow. But yeah, there's a few thoughts.
Just the blessing alone that you've done for the grandkids to have that relationship with their grandfather, that brings it all the way home. I can imagine how Jimmy must have felt being a son, and then he becomes a father, and knowing like, I don't want to have that relationship with my kid, and then for it to all come together. Yeah, the testimonies to grandkids, like they're getting a chance to get that from the grandfather. He's 95, you said, or 98?
He's 98 now.
98.
Well, he says almost 99.
Blessed. Man, what a blessing.
I also just think about this as like the power of capturing history, speaking to the legacy, speaking to the value of just like documenting these things. I think a lot of times people don't understand why, like, D'Angelo, you us bringing us together for these things and having these conversations. It's not just nostalgia. It's not just sentimentality, right? It is like the present and the future, like it's current and living. And I think that's just really easy to forget. We're talking about 30 years ago. We're talking about 40 years ago. And like that stuff is fun. And I like to reminisce and all those things, but I think people just really forget how much it is like a current living, very vibrant thing in it. And it really affects the present. And Mike, to your point, like kids today are having that moment, and it is changing their current lived experience. And that part, I think, just gets overshadowed or overlooked a lot of times because it seems like we're talking about, oh, that's decades ago, years ago. And Andrew, we were having this conversation with Jimmy, right, where he was sort of saying, how much it has changed even his work now, right, and what he's doing and how he's spending his time. And that was just so striking because this is a man who has nothing to prove to anyone, right? Like literally one of the greats of all times in terms of producers. And that was the other thing that sort of jumped out to me is like both like Jimmy and Prince and all these guys are top of their game musically, but also like Jimmy was president of the Recording Academy, right? So to be the best in multiple lanes and still be like, okay, there's more to grow and learn because of like this door that you helped them open. Like, I think that's just like that's something amazing. And it only comes from this other work that is in these other disciplines like research and, and digging through the crates and these connections that I think people don't expect. So I'm curious about like coming back to the point about covers. I think one of the things Jimmy talks about a lot is like the moment where he thought Prince was a keyboard player, and then he comes back and Prince is playing this guitar solo from Chicago is 25 or 6-4, right? And like after Jimmy had said that a couple times, like back in the day, I don't know Chicago, so I was like, okay, what's this track? And it's like that's like a rock song, right? And I like listened to the solo, I was like, that's an incredible solo. And if I think of a teenager playing that song, I was like, that's mind blowing. But also, I was like, that's like a white ass rock song. Like, okay, sure, right? Like, why is he playing that song? So that's a very Minneapolis like influence song. And I think, C. Lee, to your point, like they had to be like musically code switching between that. I'm curious about like what were the big surprises for you in like when you're finding out their histories of like that influence, that surprise, or that somebody that they played with? Like, what were the ones that you didn't expect them to be sort of bringing to their, to the mix?
Yeah. Well, I think, it's so funny. Chicago is like such a core band for so many of those guys.
Yeah. Chicago comes up a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to be listening to Chicago because I didn't know they had it like that. Like the old stuff with the horn section, I was like, oh, this is funky as hell. I didn't know that. Yeah.
That was actually Jimmy's first concert. Cornbread and his mom took him. And he has this memory of they got basically like the nosebleed cheap seats. So they were actually behind the stage. But he thought they were the best seats in the house because he could look down on the drummer and the keyboard player and like actually see all of the things that were going on. I think a lot of it had to do with, both the access to music for them was through radio, and there just was simply one Black radio station in all Twin Cities. It didn't.
And they signed off at dusk.
Yeah, and it was only during the day, and you could only get it in certain parts of the neighborhood. So the radio that they had access to was this classic rock. Well, now it's a classic rock station, but at the time it was more of like, I guess, emerging rock and experimental sounds, called KQRS. And they all have told me about the importance of this station. Andre Simone's talked about it. Prince actually told me about it the night that I met him. It's that big of a deal. You know, Jimmy's talked about it. And so they would hear these songs and they would hear elements of it that they liked, like that horn section in Chicago. And they would meld it with the music that they were hearing in their parents' record players. And I really believe that is just like fundamental to the development of the Minneapolis sound. Like that's what it is. But it's also about trying to entertain like wildly different groups of people. I talked to, you know, a lot of the guys up from Prince's generation that they just had to learn this music so that they could get booked to play the white high schools in the, you know, South Minneapolis proms, so that they knew all the hits, so that they'd be ready to entertain these kids. So I think that was a big part of it too. For Cornbread, Jimmy talks about this sometimes when he thinks about his own musical upbringing. Cornbread has this very open-ended ear. He loves all music. He could play a polka song one song and then a blues song the next, and then like a cover of an old country song next. And he plays it in a way that it all sounds like Cornbread. And in his description of it, he feels like he's sending all the music he's ever heard through the blues, and that it comes out of the other end and it sounds like this really distinct style. And Cornbread is adamant that that's what allowed him to be successful in terms of getting booked to play. I mean, some of his schedules in the 60s are so crazy to look at. He would literally play 4 nights a week at a place where he was the only piano player entertaining like a restaurant or bar full of people, and he'd play for 3 or 4 hours at a time. So he had to learn a repertoire where he could just entertain people and take requests. And he, you know, at one point knew hundreds of songs. And I just think that's so interesting to, you know, think about being that open and loving all music, but also having such a sense of identity that when he plays it, it becomes his. And I think that's absolutely true of Prince, obviously, incredible cover artist. You know, any song that he's done, he makes it his own. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting part of that whole development of the sound.
I'm glad that Sister Brooks put in about the point with Brother Dean, because in most, what people know, that I'm the last person to bring things back to Purple Rain, but I do think that Purple Rain is an important movie for a lot of reasons. One of them being the father-son relationship. And to hear you tell the story about Cornbread and Jimmy Jam, and immediately as you were telling that story, the scene that popped up to me is the kid finding that damn music, right? And the contrast between, no, I don't write them down, I don't have to. So that's the toxic machismo, right? And I think those are the things that people miss in Purple Rain, about the ability to not be your dad, but to reconcile and love your dad. And I think that's what true love, and that's what true forgiveness, and that's what true reconciliation is. And I think those kind of things about that film is what gets missed, and people are quick to throw that out and want to change it to something else. So I think that your work on the Cornbread story is important to illuminating the kind of stories that Prince is trying to tell in Purple Rain, and specifically that one about the reconciliation of a generation of men who, because of Jim Crow, right? Jim Crow up north, and because of segregation and because of hardship, had to make kind of family decisions that may have impacted the kind of fathers that they were. But it was through that music and understanding the music as the DNA of both the culture and the family that was able to ultimately reconcile Jimmy to Cornbread and Prince to John L. And I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that at all, but I just wanted to tell you that the moment you were talking about that scene of the kid finding that box of music was the first thing that popped in my head. I'll say
Just to add to, as much as what you did here, I would love to see somebody do this for Andre's mother. Just to show the other side of that, you know, how the mother,
Bernadette is 5 books.
That has such an effect on. We wouldn't even be talking here today with our contribution to this as well.
And I'll say I want Sister Swensson to jump in, but I'm glad you said that, Brother Dean, because when I do my Prince Masterclass, the first thing I start with is Bernadette and Pepe as the godfather and godmother. And the way I do it is Prince got his music from Pepe, and of course his father. But the way I do it, I said Prince got his music from Pepe, and he got his social consciousness from Bernadette. Because Bernadette was the social worker of the community before she got her social working degree. So thank you for bringing it up, Brother D, because I do think that we have to talk about Prince and Andre seeing Bernadette did what she did for that community. That is where they're getting their social consciousness from. I'll shut up because I do want Sister Swensson to speak to both of those.
I'm so glad that you brought up Bernadette. I've been thinking about her a lot this year. I worked on a short little video for the Minnesota Historical Society about her earlier this year. So I got a chance to interview half the Anderson siblings about her, including Sylvia, who, made Prince's first stage clothes and doesn't get any kind of the same amount of shine as she should for, developing his fashion sense. But yeah, these women and the mothers and the fathers play such important roles, and the differences between the mother's approach and the father's approach, I think, has informed a lot of the, just creative impulses of this whole generation of musicians. I know Jimmy talks about that a lot, that his mother was really, they even went to different styles of churches. Like his mother went to more of what he described as like a white church, and Cornbread went to more of the black church. And so he was exposed to these two kind of different approaches to like religion and faith. And then she was more the type to take him to like see the Minnesota Orchestra and go have a day at the museum and take in art and stuff. And, Cornbread's out there gigging at night in the bars. So it's just totally different personalities, and the way that they come together in forming these artists is really fascinating to me. But yeah, I think I'm sorry. I keep forgetting. I start on one thing and then I go to another.
You're good.
You had a different question at the beginning and I kind of forgot.
Hell, I forgot.
And I want to thank Love Sexy 71 for mentioning Spike Moss. He was actually in my mind. So thank you for mentioning
salute to Spike.
Spike Moss. Yeah, salute to Spike Moss. Right. And to Baby Love 14, because I think we was all inferring it, but that, for me, one of the great stories is Andre going to Prince's house and like, hey man, why my daddy picture on your wall? Like that's like the greatest. To me, that's I know it's hard to say what's the greatest Prince story, but and the fact that then John comes home and go, you Fred Anderson's boy, like, and for some of y'all in the chat, you may not understand this, and I'll end it with this. For years, y'all, as a child, I said I wasn't gonna do this. I would see old black people do this to me, and I said I would never do it. I said I hated when they would do it to me, and now I'm at that age. This is a dude I done turned into. Boy, you look just like your damn daddy. Look just like, why don't you look like him? Girl, you look like him. I used to hate when old black people would do that to me. So when I saw when he talked about John Nelson coming in and going, you are Fred Anderson's boy. That's
just like your daddy.
That's it. That's the movie I want.
There you go.
This the movie that I want made. I want it to be a limited 12 series movie that then goes into the other movie about Prince. We need, and again, I'm not comparing, but just like you guys, what was that, the Jackson's American Story? And it began with Joe and Catherine. I thought the brilliance of that movie is that it began with Joe and Catherine. We need damn the 2-hour theater movie. We need the 20 series Prince movie that begins with this book, so that we get John and Cornbread and all those other black musicians in North Minneapolis, and then around episode 10 or 11, we see that little big head ass boy on the news talking about
a little badass boy
to get paid. That's it.
That's
all right. So I want to be mindful of time, but I have a couple of really quick questions, hopefully. Well, first of all, I agree with Christina. I mean, I don't want to give you a job But I do think that a book needs to be written about Bernadette. She is so critical for so many people. It's so important. And it's just that you're in the proximity and you've already built a lot of relationships, but I don't want to give you another job.
Are we just making requests now? Because we got.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, I wanted to ask, like, did Cornbread and John L. have a relationship? That talk about that.
So, okay, here's the interesting thing about interviewing someone who's 95, 96, 97. The first time I asked him about this, he said, oh, yeah, we used to play the same, clubs back in the day, especially when they were both leading more of like a swing band. Because it gets talked about a lot that, Prince's dad had this Prince Rogers trio, but in the clippings I found, advertising them, they went from anywhere to 3 to 5 to 9 to 12 people. It was Prince Rogers and whoever the band he was leading at the moment. So it's not necessarily a trio. Just saying.
Like father, like son.
Correct. Yeah. I just lost my point again. I'm sorry, guys. This is such a fascinating conversation.
His answer changed.
It's just like
Cornbread's answer would change.
Yeah.
Oh yes. So yeah, his answer would change any given day. But then when I was interviewing some of his band, they told me that John L. Nelson would come down to this place that Cornbread played called Nikki's and sit in all the time. And Cornbread didn't remember that when I asked him about it. At one point he said, oh, we never met. At another point he said he had this story about how, when he was dying, he was in this hospital and they wouldn't let Cornbread in because he wasn't famous enough. I don't know if any of that happened, but they for sure knew each other and passed by each other and shared a stage together. So then after, I heard that from his band, I went back and I said, Cornbread, your drummer told me that you used to actually play with John L. Nelson. And he goes, oh, he had the gentlest touch. So you just never know what stories can emerge in any moment. But yeah, they are peers and contemporaries for sure.
All right. My next question for you, and I'm going to go full screen. What does it feel like to own a record label? I want us to forget that Andrea put out a record also last year, in addition to the 2 books that we talked about. And this is the anthology. You can still get it on Bandcamp. Can you talk a little bit? And I love, it's like Slingshot Annie Records.
Yes.
Okay. Where the t-shirts at? Slingshot.
Yeah. That is incredible. So talk to us about being a record label owner now, and how is that going?
I mean, it really comes back to the beginning of our conversation of like, I wanted to have something done. And then I realized that if it was going to be done, I just would have to do it. So I had been saying for years as I was working with Cornbread, there's so much of your music that's out of print. I had to track down all these, 45s for Augie Garcia and CDs of his various live albums he's pressed over the years. And I mean, it took me probably 6 months just to get a collection of his music together to really understand the full scope of like everything he's recorded. And I kept saying, there's got to be some kind of anthology of your music so that people can actually hear, as they're reading your story, hear all these different things that you've contributed to. And we'd say, oh yeah, wouldn't that be great? And I thought maybe at some point someone would do it, like one of his band or something. And then nothing ever happened. So I was like, well, I guess I'll put it out. And then I was getting some advice from the one of the people behind Secret Stash Records that did the Twin Cities Funk and Soul compilation. And he said, well, if you're going through all this trouble of learning to, for example, I had to license the Augie Garcia recording, both from Augie's estate, and then it's a cover. So I had to figure out how you deal with that. And it's like, if you're going through all this trouble, you may as well come up with a name and put a logo on it and start a record label. And I thought, yeah, I may as well. But the hope of it, it's a partnership actually with my good friend Joe Holt. Our only hope with the record is that we sell enough to make another record, and that we just keep reinvesting, the same little pool of money back into more projects, so that we can get more of this kind of long out of print music, whether it's new or old, or we're really open to, what those projects might be. And I've got one in the pipeline that I can't share yet because it's just too new and delicate. But I am really excited about it. So the hope is that, we just keep, making probably really limited run vinyl. There's only 28 of this record left in my garage. So if you want the cornbread vinyl,
28 are left. Now is the time.
Wow.
Yeah, we only printed 300, and we sold the bulk of them at the book release show. You could buy the book and the record together. But it's been so cool. We brought cornbread to the record plant.
Nice.
And he spent 40 years working in a foundry, so he was really interested in all the machinery, and he sat and watched the little disc drop down and get flattened into the record. He probably watched 50 of them because he was just mesmerized.
Wow.
And just the experience of being able to take like literally hot off the press record and put it into his hands was a really amazing moment. The pictures of that make me cry because it was so cool. And he's so excited to have it. He keeps it on his piano now because he loves the picture of him that's on the cover.
It's stunning. It's beautiful.
Wow.
It really is. It's such.
He come from an era to really appreciate having a physical record. Like, man, I can imagine 98.
I do feel like this is the sign you've been in Prince land too long, when the solution you have to your problem is let me start my own record label. Right? Like, like if you're outside of our world, that's not the first thing you think of, but you're like, I'll just start my own label. Why wouldn't I do that? I like that. That's the right energy to have.
So my final question to you, Andrea, and you've been so generous with your time, but I know you're a mama and I want you to be able to get back to your kids. So I really appreciate you taking time out to talk to us, but I want to bring it back to the book. And this is like a nerd question. And I apologize that it's not more, I don't know, a little more thoughtful, but I'm a nerd. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I know like recording audio can be a pain, meaning like, you have multiple retakes and just to get it right. Can you talk to us about the process? Because we want to bring it back. Because the reason why Andrea is here today is because Deeper Blues is now an audio book with not only Andrea, but also Cornbread and Jimmy Jam. So we've been hearing about Cornbread, but if you want to hear his own voice, you want to get this audio book. So do you mind, Andrea, talking to us about the process? I know you did a little bit in terms of being in the closet and all of that, but can you tell us, what the process was like? How long did it take? Was it, a lot of retakes, or, was Cornbread or Jimmy Jam, maybe they got it, first time out of the bat, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was a lot of retakes as I settled in. It's been a while since I've made a podcast. It just had been a while since I got my microphone and my, board out of the closet and actually like plugged everything in. So there was a little bit of like a readjustment of listening to my own voice, which I don't love doing, but I have to for my work. So yeah, I did most everything just at home, very DIY. I have a recorder I can bring over to Cornbread's, and then Jimmy actually came to my home to do his part 2, and it's a really bare bones setup. And we kind of approached it in the same rhythm that we would making a Prince podcast, which is we kind of set up a schedule of every week we're making an episode, and it goes through the whole process. So I would, record my voice first, and then they would take it and cut in all the other things in the music. And the first couple chapters, I probably did like 5 takes at least, because I don't know, it just didn't feel right, or it wasn't comfortable. But then by the end, I would just sit down and do it, and it became more natural again. I remember one of my old supervisors at the Current said, the key to making radio is that you have to care a lot and also not care at all. Which is that like it just has to happen. You just have to speak, and it has to go out there, and it's never going to be perfect, and you can't get in your head about it. So you like really care about like making something good, but also you have to kind of like check out a little bit.
That's really good advice. I really remember that, Andrea.
So I definitely got further into the book and got to that point where it just felt like it was really natural. I wasn't overthinking it anymore. And then when I started hearing the fully mixed episodes back, it was like, just as soon as Cornbread's piano starts, you're like, oh, you're going on a trip with this man. Like he's going to take you somewhere with this music and with his stories, and the way that the stories come out of him, and the way that like we've kind of excavated his past together in some ways. Like it really it was so cool to hear it all again.
And how was Cornbread like? Did Cornbread have similar issues, or was he a pro? Meaning, like he was okay with hearing his own voice.
Oh yeah. So all the things that you hear from him are taken from my interviews with him. So it's he didn't have to, record anything specifically for the book. But he loves hearing the book. He loves hearing, he often will say things like, "You just plucked out all the moments where I sound the smartest," or, it's like he's really appreciative of the, just hearing it all again. And then the moments that we've listened to multiple times are all the times he's played with Jimmy. He could just listen to that again and again and again. And he's just, really, I think I'm just appreciative that we get to experience it.
I think that it's important, not for anybody in the chat on the screen, but for young people who may be watching this, when you said taken from your interviews, because the lesson in that, young people, is do it right the first time. Because if you do it right the first time and you're a professional in everything that you approach, then you can use this for something else. You can mime it. And we always talk about Prince going back to the vault and being able to cue up things and get things. And so, as Brother Neil said, that like the most Minneapolis thing is doing, well, part of the most Minneapolis thing is doing it right the first time. And so I just didn't want that to go by, because I've been guilty, particularly as an artist, working on some things and then having to go back and go, damn, I wish I would have, or I wish I would have taken better care of it and documented that. So I just need young people to see whatever you're doing, whatever stage in it that you're doing it. Damn it, if you're making an omelet, break the eggs right the first time. You may never need to know what you may have to do, but one of them eggs. All right, I'll shut up.
Can I ask one question? Now, let me preface to say this could be a controversial question. Doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the book, but for the streets of the Prince fans out here, it's a rare opportunity that I actually get to talk to Andrea as a question. And, for somebody who also creates Prince type content, she does master class work. So be very clear on this. You've done official stuff. Your voice is a part of Prince sort of lexicon canon. Like, one of the voices, when people go to listen or read about Prince, they are going to hear you tell these stories, and along with this book and other stuff. But I do want to ask you this, and I don't, you can answer it. You don't have to answer it, or you can answer it how you want. And I'm gonna be very respectful of relationships and stuff, because I do understand. But I would love to hear your opinion. It doesn't have to be on the actual content itself, because I don't know if you've seen it. You maybe know where I'm kind of going with this. But I'm curious, for somebody who has created, historical Minneapolis works, what's your opinion on the documentary situation? And, and I really would like to hear what you think about it. And again, I can understand how deep you don't want to go into it, but I'm just very curious, for somebody who actually does create this stuff. Any thoughts? So I'll just leave it open-ended.
Well, I don't know anything. I haven't seen it. I'll start there. But I do certainly have opinions. I've been following this saga for years, from various vantage points, hearing from people that were interviewed for it. I met the director. He came to the Current and grilled me for like 5 hours, not on camera, just about what I knew about Prince and Minneapolis and where he came from and all these things. And so I watched it play out for a long time. And there was a lot of drama, as there always is in Prince world, behind the scenes, playing out all the time. And at one point, I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and she says, how Prince would it be if $25 million and 6 years of someone's life never see the light of day?
Right?
And this was,
I feel like there's no better tribute than to have something locked away in a vault, right? Like that's...
And I just thought, wow, that would be the most Prince thing to have happen, wasted years, time, money, people's emotions,
Right.
upheaval. for it to just never come out. So in a way, I don't know, maybe it's just there's like a greater force at work, whether the thing is valid of being, shown or not, that's just how it had to be. But yeah, I guess my other prevailing thought about it is that when I'm sure eventually something will happen, a documentary does come out that is official and is about Prince. I really hope that they get into the full humanity and who he was. But I also hope that the exploration of his humanity is because of his art, and that the conversation is driven by what he was showing us about himself in his art. Because that to me is the core question, is what do we know about this person based on what he shared with us musically? Because otherwise it could be a documentary about anybody.
Right.
The reason that it's going to be a documentary about Prince is because he's extraordinary, and that his work that he made is extraordinary. So I just hope that that story can be told in a way that centers the actual creation and the music, and also doesn't try to, soften the blow of the harder parts. There are certainly, depths to everyone's humanity and good and bad things that can be explored. But yeah, that's kind of my other big feeling about it.
That's interesting because, I like the book that you've done with Jimmy and them. I assume you're expanding past just the music, but dealing with sort of the relationship between the father and son. So that's interesting. I appreciate you giving that.
Yeah, and I really love how you articulated what you would like to see, if this ever, not necessarily this project, but if a similar project comes to be. Anil?
I was just going to connect one thread here, which is Seeley's point about how many times do we see different facets, different stories told about Black artists, right? Because I think one of the reasons it's been so fraught about whether this documentary comes out and this story is told is because I think so many of us know and feel how many swings of the bat are there going to be about, because those people say the Prince documentary, right? They're not saying a Prince documentary, they're saying the Prince documentary, because we know damn well Netflix is not going to do 5-10 of these.
Right.
They're going to do one maybe. Right. And so if we felt like there were going to be a couple cuts at this and they might put resources into doing a few different versions of the story, then if one of them wasn't the take that we like or didn't have a lens that we felt was the right emphasis or whatever, well, if there's not going to be another one, then maybe that could weather that. Right. Then maybe if that is emphasizing the thing we didn't think was the right emphasis, maybe that'd be all right. But if we know that there's only going to be one, then that's something that's hard. And I think a lot of people's other concern about this, especially probably the estates, is what does this impact commercially if it has a more negative spin? It's again, well, if there were 10 other things and one of them was fully focused on the artistry and the music and told this amazing story, then people would say, okay, well, this is an incredible artist. I'm going to go discover the catalog. But if that's not the first story that comes out or the loudest story that comes out, then it gets overshadowed by these other things. So I think so much of what we are responding to, reacting to, is scarcity, right? Is that sense of, well, we only have this one try, and that sense of scarcity or poverty or desperation and feeling like, we want him to be acquitted well with all the nuance and richness of what we see, which they can't, right? It took us 40 years or 50 years to have this conversation in many cases, right? 30, 40 years. And like, how do you get that into 6 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever it is? So I think that's the other part I react to. And I think, I agree with everything Andrea said, but I think there's this other part too, which is pragmatically, we know Netflix is not putting in infinite resources and not taking 3-4 tries at this thing. And so I think that's where a lot of the frustration, resentment, and stress this thing, because his catalog and his work and his legacy is strong enough to endure anything. You can tell any story that is true about this man, and it'll only be a tiny facet of who he was. And there's, for this group, I don't think there's any story in there that we haven't heard. Right. I don't think there's anything in there that we don't know, and I don't think there's anything in there that isn't his meaning in the world isn't resilient enough for us to say, okay, yes, and now there's more for us to parse and more for us to hear. But that's because we have this full complement of what's there. So I think that's a big part of where, a a lot of our reactions to, is because they don't have the resource. They're not putting the they're not putting the resource in appropriate commensurate to what he was in the world, like they would to any other artist, a non-Black artist that had the same impact.
And two, just to throw in real quick, I hate that we seem to be going in a place where, when it is somebody's legacy that we care for or don't care for, there seems to be a space to, we don't want that voice to be heard. There's opposition to it, whether you agree with who it is or not. I hate that it has to happen with Prince, but I think we're kind of seeing that just out and about in our country, where it's just like, so you don't like that person's opinion, well, turn his mic off, or you do like his opinion, so you don't want to hear nobody else's but just the one that you like. And I don't think that ain't how Prince never was. It was always, you got what he gave you and you take it how it was. But I just don't want us to get to, even I'm a Prince fan. I don't want to see him in a bad light, but I also don't want to be in a place where we can't see an honest light.
Yeah. And I think it's the same thing as scarcity. I think people are feeling that thing because they're like, well, there's only so many channels left. There's only so many platforms left. And so if I feel that desperation, that hunger of like, well, I don't have any other place to put this. How many places are ever going to show a documentary that have any reach? There's like 3 streaming services left, or there's 3, podcast places left. And if whatever, if Ezra gets put on, then I can't let him get that, so that's the crabs in a bucket thing that happens to people. And I think that's a lot of why they say, not just, I don't like what his message is, but I'm even being more critical of what his message is, because that means I get a shot to tell my story.
Right. And I think along that line of the scarcity. So there are 2 books. One is finished and about to come out, and there's another book that's being considered to come out. So there's a book about just the revolution, right? The area of the revolution. I think that book is either out or about to come out. There's another book that, and I don't, a couple of us have seen the proposal for, which is specifically looking at Prince's 90s and later work. And so, but that book is still in the proposal. The publisher has contacted some folks to see if we think it would be, and I want to give props to Prof. Duff, saying, hey, you should talk to you, because I'm one of those people that, if given the choice, and I want to come back because I want to make a point, I'm not as interested in seeing a book about the revolution, one, because I lived it, but also I'm tired of Prince being just narrow to that one lens. And so that whole scarcity thing, I'm hoping that the book that's covering Prince's latter work, one, I'm hoping is good, because I think it does speak to that scarcity thing, that it is as much about the limited takes that are on Prince, the limited amount of takes, and the very narrow way in which people continue to promote. I'm not interested in anything that ties Prince to one group of actors and one period. And so I do think the scarcity thing is what makes it more intense, because it is about, I had an article that I wrote about 30 years ago, and I said, which Martin Luther King is on the postage stamp? And I think that's everybody's concern, right? Is the Martin Luther King on the postage stamp who was against the Vietnam War? Or is the Martin Luther King on the postage stamp the one that made all the other people comfortable with the I Have a Dream speech? Because they never teach the letter from a Birmingham jail of Martin Luther King. And so the question is, which Prince is going to be on the postage stamp? And I think that's really where the intensity is, not so much about people wanting to keep, say, bad parts of Prince out. But and so that's why I go back to, we really need this holistic approach. And so since we haven't had a Dear State moment, here's my point. You don't have to do a scavenger hunt for people qualified to help tell Prince's story. We got this great book and her other 2 books that we've done. We got Prof. Duff on the screen. We got Michael Dean on the screen. We got Anil and the whole 4U crew on the screen. You got Arthur Turner. You got so many qualified Prince people who are doing great. You got the man for the reason we're here every week. So we have to stop acting like we have to do a scavenger hunt of people who are qualified to help tell Prince's story. Thank you. Sonic 22 is in the chat. If you have not watched the Sonic 22 documentaries on YouTube, I'm sorry, you're not going to get much better. So I think that's the only appeal that I would have to the estate is you ain't got to look under rocks for people qualified to do this work. It's people out here doing the work without the money. Come on, pony up some money so the people that's already telling the story and already doing the work can produce the content that y'all want. I'll shut up.
All right. So I really want to be mindful of Andrea's time. So I just want to do one really quick thing. This is Andrea's website. It's really simple. Her name, andreaswensson.com. And let me see if this happens, if I can just pull this up really quickly. This is her website, so you know that you're at the right place. And obviously, we've been talking about her amazing book, Deeper Blues, The Life Songs and Salvation of Cornbread Harris. You can buy the book. You can buy the book and album. There's now only, I think, 27 copies left of the album because Kim just bought one. And so again, there are not very many copies left. So, and then don't forget about Prince and the Purple Rain, 40 years. If you want to be able to touch that velvet, because it is one of the nicest covers ever, because we can't forget about that book either. So again, Andrea, I'm so grateful that you took time out of your weekend and from your family to be with us. And it was just so amazing to hear about this extraordinary audiobook that I hope that everyone will run to go get and listen to. And thank you for your continued Prince scholarship. It means so much to the community. Mere words really just fail at the work that you're doing for us. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I could talk to you all for another 3 hours easily. And I hope to come back or talk offline once the Broadway musical comes out, because I'm sure we're all going to have a lot of feelings about that too.
Yes, we have an open, you're always welcome to come on whenever you want. The link I share with you is actually perennial, so you can just pop on. You don't even have to let us know, just pop up. That's how we roll. I'm from the South. You just roll by somebody's house. You don't have to call them and all that kind of stuff. So
I'll be over with a plate.
That's it.
That's right.
And bring your aluminum foil so you can
bring something sweet and bring some foil. Yeah, that's right. We'll fix your plate.
I'm going to remove you. Thank you again, Andrea. I really appreciate you being here. And then I know that some of the fellas also might need to leave because I'm going to finish these two. We have 2 dates we need to read, and I'm going to finish them.
Luckily for me, Jackson State is playing a late game tonight. So y'all, that's why I'm here. I had a workshop while I was late, but Jackson State playing a late game, and so I'm good because they don't play till 7 o'clock.
I wasn't even supposed to be here. I just crashed because I love you all. So thank you for having me on. But I don't get to say enough. I'm grateful y'all do this. I love just watching, and I think I speak for everybody who watches that it is a gift that you all give us. So thank you for doing it.
Oh, thank you, Anil. I have ulterior motives. I'm trying to make sure that Duane writes. Yes, sexy.
Can't wait.
Every time you push the button, it's still messing me up. It's never not funny. It's just good.
Yes. So I just want him to know how much Duane, because he watches these sometimes. Hopefully he'll watch this one since Andrea's on. I really appreciate your books, and I can't wait for
do it, Duane. We know you got the studio logs. We know you got all the flight records. We know you got it all. Just give it to us.
Yes,
we'll buy it.
Yes, we will buy it. We are there. Yeah, there's a whole love
hardcover, soft cover, whatever you got. We got it.
Yes, for sure. Christina says, Anil, you're the highlight of my weekend.
She's talking about you all. She's just agreeing with me. All right.
Bye.
See y'all. Bye.
All right, Michael. Do you have to head out? I'm giving you an out if you need to.
I got a few minutes, and then it will be grits time. But we got.
Okay. Oh yeah, I forget how early it is for you. The commitment. You guys need to give.
Yeah, brother ain't ate yet.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. So I'm going to read the next one, and then I'll have you read the final one because it's very short. So we're going to go to Thursday, September 26, 1985, Sexual Suicide, Rough Mix, God is Everywhere, Rough Mix, Sunset Studio, Sunset Sound Studio 3, 1:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., booked 1 p.m. open, producer Prince, artist Prince, engineer Susan Rogers and Peggy Mac Leonard, assistant engineer Paul Levy. There is a quote from Lisa Coleman that I'm going to skip to give you something to read. And I am going to actually skip the first 2 paragraphs and just go to where it says, Peggy Mac agrees that there were times that she didn't allow herself to be vulnerable with him because it would often backfire. It was one of the things where you went into this understanding that you better be in a calm state because you had to be. You couldn't be up because he'd squash you down. You couldn't be sad either. You just had to be kind of neutral. I kept my face neutral. I kept my actions neutral. I would go and kick the wall when I left the studio if he frustrated me, but you just didn't give him anything to feed on. I didn't want to give him any ammunition to use against me. Now, there's a couple more things I'm going to read, but I actually want to speak to this. If you're a person that gets in a flow when it comes to your work, you don't have time for... like you're just so engrossed in your work that you just want to get it done. And, we've read where Prince says, like, this music is channeling through him. Like, it's like lightning in the bottle. He needs to capture it. And so he's on a mission. So I think sometimes when we read some of these comments, and I'm sure it was not easy, but I think you also have to think of it also from Prince's point of view as the artist, as the creative, who's really trying to get his work out and his work done. And, all of these people, Prince, Peggy Mac, all the engineers, they're spending a lot of time in the studio because in order to do anything well, it takes time. And a lot of times people think that they have more time than they do when they really don't, because all this stuff takes time, and seconds count sometimes, minutes count sometimes, hours count. So I just want to be mindful of that when we read some of these comments.
Well, I like the Prince's quote, and I can't remember which Rolling Stone interview it was. He said that he never understood his father until one day he was playing the piano and Rand the cook. And I don't know, do you pronounce it Randy or Rand? I could never remember how you pronounce it because I think it was R-A-N-D-E. So I didn't know if it was Rand or Randy.
I always say Randy, but that's okay. Somebody else might know.
He said he was playing the piano and Randy walked into the room and she was walking on a different beat. And he was so annoyed, he went, "Oh, that's why my father was like that." Right. And for people who are not creatives, right, it is, I love the George Carol Oates, what is it? Intrusion is the enemy. Interruption is the enemy of writing. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that's that quote about the cook walking in on a different, who thinks that way? Who thinks somebody's walking on a different beat? Well, when you are engrossed in what you are creating, any little thing can set you off. So I agree with you. I'll shut up.
All right. And then one C60 and one C90 were created from the session for Prince. Note, while Peggy and Susan worked at Sunset Sound on some of the songs for Under the Cherry Moon, David Tickle spent several days at a local studio in Minneapolis, also working on mixes of other tracks, probably including Do You Lie, which is one of my favorites off Parade, Kiss, Love or Money, Sometimes It Snows in April, and a copy of Alexa de Paris, which it appears was simultaneously being mixed in Los Angeles. So just really quickly, I want to show the work order for that because I always like seeing the work orders. So you can see Sexual Suicide, God is Everywhere. You can see also that the Cherry Moon Productions and Cavallo Ruffalo is scratched out because it's going back to Warner Brothers, as Duane talked about in the previous section. And we're going to keep it moving for the sake of time. So Michael, do you mind reading Friday, September 27th, 1985?
Yes. All titles for Paisley Park album assembled. Alexi de Paris, Venus de Milo, Do You Lie? Sexual Suicide, God is Everywhere, You're My Love, Call of the Wild, Sunset Sound Studio 3, 12 noon to 7:30 p.m. blocked, 1 p.m. Open. Producer Prince, artist Prince, engineer Susan Rogers or Peggy McLeonard. Prince requested a series of songs to be compiled. Although this was listed as being for Paisley Park album, it was probably not considered a true compilation for the Parade album, but instead it was more likely for Prince to listen and review for consideration for the movie. One TDK C90 cassette was dubbed and sent to him.
Shout out to the TDK.
Right.
Yes. So I have one more work order to show, and I find this one interesting because it's a little different from all the others, and you can see like all the songs clearly written down, and you'll see that now it's to Warner Brothers instead of Ruffalo, Cavallo, and Fagnoli. I find this really fascinating. So if you actually go back to the work order, the original one, how it struck through with Cherry Moon Productions, and it has Paisley Park, and like they're framing this compilation of tunes as Paisley Park, and Duane says it's probably not considered a true compilation for the Parade album, but Paisley Park is coming up a lot, just in terms of the client, obviously I'm sure Prince is probably beginning to think about maybe the building. I wonder when he starts thinking about, actually building Paisley Park. Obviously, we've already had Paisley Park, the song, and I just find it kind of fascinating. And I wonder about these songs, so like we got Alexa Day Paris, Venice de Milo, Do You Lie, Sexual Suicide, God Is Everywhere, You're My Love, Call of the Wild. You're My Love is I've never heard of Call of the Wild. Have either of you heard Call of the Wild?
Yeah, it's been called 9 to 5 People.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Conversation, yes. But You're My Love is a very odd one on this list because, obviously we know it goes to Kenny Rogers and all of that. So I wonder why it's in the mix. I can't remember when the Kenny Rogers album came out. Maybe that's just something he's working on at the same time. I don't know. Can somebody figure that out in the chat? And I don't think we've heard God Is Everywhere, right?
I haven't.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it's circulating. I don't think it's falling out the sky. So this is a really interesting just compilation of songs. What's really funny? I thought about naming the symposium "Do You Lie" because it's my favorite. It's my favorite song. It's like that's not the It's just I didn't want to be negative. Some people might perceive that as negative and probably wouldn't have gotten it. And I went with "I Wonder You" for a couple of reasons. One, it's one of my favorite songs off of Parade, and just one of my favorite songs in general. But also because it's going to be 10 years since Prince's passing next year, and how we're continually wondering after him. Like he still is. We learned something new. The reason why we're doing this is because one, yes, community, but I'm continually learning new stuff about Prince and everything that he created. And it's just so powerful how much he created in his lifetime and how we're still actually getting a lot of value out of it. I mean, like it gets me through life. That's how valuable it is. And so I just wanted other people who maybe not be at the level that we are to understand just how powerful and how we wonder at Prince. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to name it "I Wonder You" 40. Okay, so we're at the end of our time because I want Michael Dean to eat, and we usually have a salon, but we did that sort of in the beginning. And I want to say that if you enjoy the conversation with Andrea today, I highly recommend that you log in next week because we're going to have another author with us next week about a brand new book. It's not Prince specific, but it's Prince adjacent. So please, I hope that you will join us. See, Lee, I feel like you want to say something.
Well, we're gonna let Brother Dean go eat. I was just gonna ask him a quick question for the Grits, brother, and I hope you get a right answer. I want you to understand there's only one answer, and you better get a right answer. So tread lightly and think hard.
No sugar, but go ahead.
Now, when you talk about your grits, is it butter? Is it salt and sugar, brother, on them grits? Is it salt and sugar on them grits?
Listen, salt and pepper for me all day.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother, for
don't play with me, Celine.
Thank you for that. Look, let me say this to all you people putting that damn sugar in your grits. That is not grits. That's oatmeal, people.
There you
are
go.
making oatmeal.
You're making multi-meal.
Sugar in your grits.
No, it's salt and pepper all day. Rice, eggs, and bacon. We mix it all up, lather it up.
Who are these damn people putting sugar in their grits? That's oatmeal.
Okay. I think that is the best way to end this. Take us on out, Michael Dean.
All right. Well, what a show this week. Thanks again to Andrea for coming in. Salute to our brother Ricky, came through. Anil Dash, Seeley, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, preacher, the scholar, all that. Of course, the queen. She the one that's really doing all the work behind all this stuff here. D'Angela. Also, want to salute her for last week. What phenomenal. Again, we are the estate. We're the principal. We don't need permission to do these events. We can create whatever we want to do. We can talk about Prince how we want to, as we have been doing. She's illustrated. D'Angela is the demonstration of that. Every week we come together. So salute to that. And of course, everybody in the chat, you guys make this what it is. Even when the symposium, it's not the same without the people. And same with this every week. This is our safe space where we get to come, act a fool, be ourselves on here, talk about something that we love. So this is excellent. We're going to keep this going. And hey, work it like a job. That's all I can say.
Peace.